everybody, and welcome to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS British Pro Championships live from Telford. By my side today, the one and only Jolanda Hagman. Welcome.
Hey Marcus, it's great to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. You're a 3-time Swiss champion, and of course, only a few weeks ago, you won the Austrian Open Championship. You're in great shape.
I was lucky enough to win that last competition. I didn't think I was going to get it.
But you did it. So what can we expect from today? What do you think?
I think it's going to be a great competition. It's everyone's game, so we'll see what happens.
Well, that sounds great. And of course, we've got Troy Mannering doing the commentary on all the competition. And Alex Kirky will be live in Telford. He is our field reporter, and hopefully I can see and hear Alex in a moment. There he is. How you doing, mate?
Hey Floaty, hi, Jolanda in the studio. Yeah, welcome to Telford for the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS British Pro Championships. Shortly we're going to see the axes and saws in all their glory. It's fantastic to be back in the birthplace of industry here in Telford, one of the significant influences in the Industrial Revolution in this country. So all about making things work faster and with more power, and that's exactly what we're going to see from our athletes on the stage today.
Well, thanks very much, Alex. This man is full of power, and of course, so are our 11 athletes. We're going to take a closer look at the competitors for today. I hope. Oh, there they are. Jolanda?
All right, we're going to start off with Matt O'Rourke. He is 36 years old, 108 kgs. This is his second time competing by the pros, so we're looking to see what he can do.
Well, that's going to be interesting. 11 athletes. Ocean Williams.
Exactly. He's 39 years old, and he's a new competitor to the Pro Series. His favorite event is standing.
Well, we've got 4 newcomers. That's going to make the whole thing very interesting. Another big man.
Exactly. Joseph Groom. He's also one of the newcomers. He, like you said, big man, and he does not like the single buck.
And I like the name Groom. Yeah, that's Terry Ho. Wow.
Terry Hoff.
Hoff. Thank you.
He is a 55-year-old man, getting up there, but still got it. So we're looking forward to what he's going to bring.
Well, full respect to that guy.
So Tom Redman, he is also new to this Pro Series. He's 35 years old and 105 kgs.
Oh, that's a legend.
Andrew Evans, he's been here a while. He's been part of Team GB from 2007 to 2018, so he's going to give it all.
Love this man's attitudes. Graham Turner, that's our next competitor, 120k. He doesn't look that big, does he?
No, and he's only 35 years old. So he is actually the first Scottish athlete in the GB competition. And Bill Joaquin, he is our oldest competitor. He's 59 years old. He's been a part of all the British competitions, so let's see what he's got.
Well, STIHL TIMBERSPORTS obviously helps to stay young.
Exactly.
What about Johnny Lewis?
Johnny Lewis has also been a part of the sport for quite a while. He was second in the 2019 competition.
And that's one of the favorites now, if
Glen,
I'm not mistaken.
Pendlington, exactly. He's the one to watch. He's one of the young guys. He's been a part of this competition a while, but he's a second-generation chopper, so let's see.
And he looks very determined. Just look at the picture. Oh, and that's the man to watch.
Exactly.
The man.
Last but not least, Elgin Pugh, 39 years old. He holds a national record, and we'll see what else he can do.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Of course, we all know there's not been a lot of STIHL TIMBERSPORTS going on in the last 1.5 years in GB. So we're very happy to see the Welsh, the Scottish, and the English timber sports athletes compete again. And it's 3 rounds, 6 disciplines, and we're going to take a look at the competition format right now.
The STIHL TIMBERSPORTS individual competition. In the first round, all athletes compete in 3 disciplines: the underhand chop, the stock saw, and the standing block chop. The times achieved will be converted into points upon completion of each discipline. In round 1, a difference of 1 point applies in each discipline, thus the fastest athlete received 12 points and the slowest only 1 point. Any rule infraction will result in a disqualification, and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. At the end of the first round, the athletes with the lowest scores are eliminated. Only 8 athletes make it to the second round. In this second round, the remaining athletes compete in the single buck and the springboard for increased scores. With 2 points difference between placings, the fastest athlete now receives 16 points and the slowest receives 2. The 2 athletes with the lowest total points are eliminated at the end of round 2. Only the top 6 reach the third round. In the third round, anything is still possible in the hot saw, as an increased score interval of 3 points applies in this final round. The fastest athlete can score up to 18 points at the hot saw, the slowest only 3 points. The athlete who manages to achieve the highest total score across all 3 rounds is the new champion.
So that, of course, means we're going to start off with 11 athletes. In second round, we're going to have 8. And in the third round with the hot saw, we're going to be down to 6 athletes. Yolanda, what's your favorite discipline?
Mine is definitely the underhand, so...
Oh, well, that's...
Forward to this one.
That's the first one. That's the one we're going to start off with. And everything you need to know about tool and discipline coming up right now.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand-sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32-centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides.
Take a closer look at the start list. In Heat 1, it will be Matt O'Rourke. In Heat 2, Ocean Williams will take on Joseph Groom. In Heat 3, Terry Hove against Tom Redmond. Heat 4, Andrew Evans against Graham Turner. Heat 5, Bill Joaquin against Johnny Lewis. And in Heat 6, Glen Pendlington taking on Elgin Pugh. Oh my word. That's going to be a very, very interesting last heat. Troy Mannering, are you ready to rock and roll with our athletes?
Good to go, buddy. I can't wait to get this one on the road. Unfortunately for Matt O'Rourke, he's going to be out there all by his lonesome on that stage to start the mission with. So he's got to set the bar for everybody else, and he's doing that with an injured back. So hopefully that won't hinder him too much.
Well, we wish him lots of luck, and hopefully we can get things going in Telford right now.
And there we see our beautiful stage in Telford getting ready for the competition. And as I said, Matt O'Rourke is going to be alone on the stage, as we only have 11 athletes. Normally we're seeing 12, so that there are 2 athletes in each heat, but it does happen from time to time where a single athlete will be out there to set the stage and set the time for everybody else. He's clearly got some fans in the audience, though, as he gives them a quick wave and gets ready to start the chop on this underhand chop, the first of 3 disciplines in round number 1. And here we go. Matt O'Rourke with the pressure to set the bar for the day.
Stand to your timbers. 3, 2, 1, go!
First 2 hits are really nice and clean, slamming out some good pieces there as he gets some power drives going on that first side. So Matt O'Rourke already getting into it pretty deep. Just about passing the 15-second mark here as he switches over, and that's a good transfer over to the front side. You can see some of the other athletes looking on from the sidelines there as we get our next guys coming onto the stage shortly. But Matt O'Rourke just passing 35. If he can get it under 40, 45, then he should have a personal best here today. Looks like he's pretty close. 1 or 2 more drives. Oh, but he steps down. And there we go. 46.46 for Matt O'Rourke. And he does make it a personal best. His previous personal best was around the 49-second mark, so that's a good improvement for him. And as we always say, it's nice to see an athlete pull a personal best out of the competition.
Great start, great event opening from Matt O'Rourke, who smashes his PB by a few good seconds there. 46.07 is the time to beat now in the session.
And the safety crew gets out there to clean up those slabs and stuff, and we're going to take a look back at the slow-mos from Matt O'Rourke here. And watch these first 2 cuts on this one side. Bang, bang, right on the mark. So accurate. Love to see how clean that was right off the get-go. And he, even with his back problems that he's been struggling with over the last year and a half or so, he's done a great job here to get himself a personal best. So that is really nice. And I love how he hopped over to the other side there. No stepping down, no gingerly walking around the safe way. He did do a step off there, but that because the log was looking like it was a little bit shaky, but he got back up and put that final drive through to get himself a personal best time of 46.07. He set the bar for our next heat coming on stage, and that's Ocean Williams going up against Joseph Groom. Now, both of these guys are new to the pro competition, and both of them have been training very, very hard in the off time. And as you know, there's not been a lot of competitions in Great Britain because of the COVID pandemic. And that's really struck, in particular, the island nation a lot harder than most other nations that participate in timber sports. So it's great to see them back in the mix on stage, and even better, there's a little bit of audience here to cheer these guys on. So that's definitely a big bonus. And both of these guys have spent a lot of time in the summer competing in other wood chopping contests. So this is going to be a big test for both of them. Here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ocean Williams on the close end here, and on the far end, you're looking at Joseph Groom. Ocean, really nice, quick hands. Joseph Groom over to the other side quickly. He was there in under 15 seconds. And Ocean Williams taking his time as he steps around gingerly to get to the other side of his block. But right now, Joseph Groom looking really good as he gets deep onto the second side. This is where it gets hard for some guys when their fitness level isn't really at where it's supposed to be for these events. This second side can be really difficult as you start to get tired. The excitement of that first side takes a lot of energy out of you. And Joseph Groom looks like it's going to be 1 or 2 more drives to get through. There, he's got it in 45.04. And Ocean Williams with a 46.16. Both of these guys dropping some personal bests here. So this is great. A really great way to start this competition. 3 personal bests out the window right away, and that car is driving away fast.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Great first event for both.
So the concentration on both these guys is intense. And more than anything, and I think probably later on Yolanda can allude to this a little bit, the mental side of this is very, very important. Just knowing exactly where and what you're going to do when you get out there. You've got that muscle memory, and all the training that you do does play a huge role, but that mental aspect is just so massive in this sport. And especially when you're dealing with these tools that are so incredibly dangerous in the wrong hands. And there you see Ocean Williams on the far side. Oh, wow, now we're switching the view. Ocean Williams up close to us here. Joseph Groom on the far side now. And you'll see here it's about 3 more drives for Joseph Groom on the far side to get through that block. And then he finally does with a little bit of a bullet as well, but he holds on to that axe, which is very good. And not even a full stroke behind. Ocean Williams was right there. So a couple of good battles that we've seen so far.
Well, thank you, Troy. Yolanda, what a start into these GB championships in Telford. 3 athletes, 3 personal bests. I mean, how about that?
It's a great day to start with. Always be best, personal best. Can't beat that.
obviously, like the season 2021, I would have expected to be not as good as maybe 2020 or maybe 2019 because all the COVID stuff, you know, kind of didn't give everyone the chance to practice and to compete as much as they would have liked to. But looking at different competitions this year, you have to say, wow, our STIHL Timbersports athletes are absolutely fantastic. And we've already seen 2 world records this season.
That's right. It's unreal. We have a new record in the hot saw. 4.87 seconds from Robert Ebner from Germany. That is unreal.
4.87. Robert, you're crazy, but we love it. Yeah, absolutely. And Stocksaw.
And Stocksaw, another one, 8.51 second from the Norwegian.
Ole Magnus Sulubergate.
Exactly.
Oh, more or less, yeah. We that's a difficult name, but we'll have to practice it. I mean, this guy has a world record, absolutely fantastic. And looking at all the athletes in those difficult times, it's all about tolerance. It's all about sticking together, and we've got a great message coming up.
We are Timbersports.
United by passion for the sport
and competition.
We chop down racism
and say yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
Say ja till tolerans.
Yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
是的，理解宽容。
Powiedz tak tolerancji.
Ja zu Toleranz.
We are Timbersports.
One big STIHL Timbersports family, but a very competitive family. Yolanda, looking at the GB Championships, there's 4 new athletes competing for the first time on the highest level. How hard, how difficult do you think it's going to be for them?
Well, I think nerves is what is going to be the most difficult. They've been training, so they know the events. It's really getting on that big stage and trying to deliver everything that they've been training.
So it's not about the disciplines itself. It's more like that competition feeling, that getting control of your nerves, do you think?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see how they do, and we'll go back to heat number 3 in Telford right now.
All right, heat number 3 coming up between Terry Hoff, one of the granddaddy caddies here at 55 years old. He's 20 years the senior of Tom Redmond, and this is a new pro competitor, Tom Redmond. He's also got a little bit of an internal battle going on with his buddy Joseph, and that is Joseph Groom, so it's going to be bragging rights for these guys. Let's see how they do here. A lot of power drives from both of these guys. Terry Hoff right there in front of you, but it's actually Tom Redmond that switched over to the other side before Terry. So obviously this is something that he's been taking a lot of time to make sure he's really on point. Now Hoff has joined him on the other side. That's his nickname, by the way, his last name. And he is through in a great time of 29.57, and that will put him on top of the leaderboard so far for underhand chop. Terry Hoff battling to try and get through there. Oh, he's got a quick step down in that last little one. And he's got himself a personal best as well with a 43.94. So already so far we've seen 5 personal bests drop by the wayside, which is fantastic. And Terry Hoff with his 43.82 is currently sitting in second place. But right now, the time to beat is that time from Tom Redmond of 29.14.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
We're never going to cut over announcing personal best on Terry.
That's the face of concentration right there from Tom Redmond as he stepped up onto that log, and he had a hate on for that log. But boy, did he ever get into it. Both of these guys doing a really good job right off the start. This is something that I mentioned earlier on. You know, you spend a lot of energy and a lot of power on that first side, and then if your fitness level just isn't where it needs to be at, then that second side is going to cause you problems. And in fact, it almost looked like Tom Redman was going to have problems staying on as he jumped over with a little bit too much vim and vigor and almost slipped off the block, but he controlled it and got back up there and kept hammering away for a very good time. And there's the final drive from Terry Hoff. So, a legend, Andrew Evans, his personal best just over the 29-second mark. And Graham Turner, he is a new pro competitor, so whatever time he locks in today, that will mark as a personal best for him. 56 years of age, that man right there, Andrew Evans, and he has competed in 6 of the 7 British Pro Championships, basically been involved since the very, very beginning of STIHL Timbersports in Great Britain.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And here we go, and get a view from both sides of Andrew Evans and Graham Turner hammering away in heat number 4. So it's going to be the age difference here and whether or not Graham Turner's really been training, and Andrew Evans has already moved over to the other side of his block. I believe he went over there just around the 16-second mark. I didn't pay attention, but Graham Turner is still working. Now he has moved over to the other side of his block, and we're now passing the 30-second mark. Let's see how far along we can go, and if we get another couple of best times. It's not going to happen for Andrew Evans. His personal best is a 30.85. Oh, but look at that. Graham Turner with a 42.24 through for a personal best for himself. And Andrew Evans struggling as he stepped off, and he gets back up and now will go back to the original side to cut through. He's allowed to do that as long as the block is cut from 2 sides. So that was a shake of the head from Graham as Andrew Evans, excuse me, as he stepped off that block after cutting through. He is definitely not satisfied with how that went down. It could be that there was a knot in the block and it just made it a little bit harder to cut through.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Great job by Graham Turner, though. What a fantastic personal best for him. And that actually puts him in 2nd place in the underhand chop results. So he was definitely fired up for this competition. Andrew Evans as well. I mean, you know, you can see he was definitely ready to go. He was on that block and he was focused on that first drive, but he was just he struggled at that last part. You know, he wasn't through as quick, although he was over to the other side faster than Graham Turner. He just wasn't quite as fast on the second side. And I have to ask myself, okay, is fitness playing a role here? Is his age playing a role here? I doubt it in his case. I think more along the lines of there was probably a knot or something in his block. It does happen, you know, and it's the way it goes from time to time. So that's that for those 2 guys.
You're absolutely right, Troy. What a great debut by the Scotsman, Graham Turner. I mean, brilliant stuff, especially the finish, Yolanda. I mean, he obviously saved all his strength for the last few strokes, and then, wow.
That's right. He gave it all.
Absolutely. I mean, you love the axe disciplines, and Troy keeps telling me, you know, they're as sharp as a razor blade. You can shave yourself with one of these axes. How sharp are they, really?
They are very sharp, and you can shave yourself, but I do not shave myself with the axe. I'll leave that to the gentleman to do.
I'm still not going to do it, but we've got another great clip coming up for you guys, just to make sure you get to know our athletes better.
Things have changed in the year 2020, we all know that. And welcome to the STIHL Timbersports World Championships.
Hey Timbersports World, it's Matt Slingerland here.
Hi, ich bin Adi Münzenmeier.
I'm Martha King.
G'day, I'm Brad Elias.
Questo è Michał Dubicki.
Ciao a tutti, sono Michael Elping.
Jag som är Ferry Svan.
Hi fans, here's the Robert.
I'm Ryden Myers.
24 years of age. I believe he's still our current world record holder in the underhand chop.
During COVID, I moved to El Paso, Texas, took a travel therapy job, wanted to help out the community.
In this current situation with the COVID-19, I've just spent a lot of time
at home, spending time with our newborn baby Grace.
Just doing some stuff around the house, doing bathroom remodel.
Doing hobbies I enjoy, such as steelhead fishing and mushroom foraging.
In der Freizeit, die mir bleibt, versuche ich mehr zu wandern und Zeit zu verbringen mit meiner Familie.
Definite advantage now for Armin Kugler from Austria.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ich hoffe, dass bald wieder vorangeht, dass die Saison starten kann, auch dieses Jahr noch.
We're a strong community and we love our sport, so keep training, stay positive.
Es kann bloß besser werden. Wir halten jetzt alle voll durch.
Still keeping up with some of the training, because eventually when this thing's over, we're going to have a competition sometime.
Hopefully everyone's still training hard and keeping an eye on what we do over the off season, and hopefully we're up and going as soon as we can.
We're a community. We're in this together. It is just a fantastic event. The excitement in the audience, the fans absolutely going for it. It is loud as can be in here. The fans are going bananas, and we are going to see some epic competition here.
I want to say I miss you guys. I can't wait till we get to compete against each other again.
Ich hoffe, dass es euch allen gut geht, dass ihr gesund seid, dass eure Familien gesund sind.
Take care of yourselves, but also take care of others.
Stay home, keep training, because I know I am.
Ich freue mich auf euch, auf die Fans, auf die Follower, auf alle, die den Sport begeistern und verfolgen.
Be nice and kind to people as much as you can.
Ich hoffe, ihr bleibt alle gesund und wir können uns demnächst wieder auf einen wunderschönen Wettkampf sehen.
Stay safe and I hope to see you all soon.
Ich wünsche euch alles Gute und wir sehen uns. Bis dann.
Stay safe, be smart, and train a lot because I'm coming for you.
And hopefully you'll have a good year. Cheers.
All right, Marcus, well, Heat 5 in the underhand chop has Bill Hockey and Johnny Lewis there. Or Joaquin, excuse me, I have to pronounce his name correctly. He's actually originally from New Zealand, and you know there's some great competitors coming from New Zealand. And he has been participating in all 7 British Pro Championships. So here we go. Between these two big men, Bill Joaquin and John Lewis. Joaquin on the left-hand side of your screen. John Lewis on the right has just moved over to the other side of his block. So he has a slight advantage over Joaquin now, who has finally and gingerly moved over to the other side of his. It looks like we might have a good time here. It's going to be John Lewis, Johnny on the spot with a personal best of 24:31. Bill Joaquin has got it done in 33:52. So Johnny Lewis with a 24:31 moves to the top of the underhand chop results, and by virtue will take over the lead in the overall standings for the moment. But there is one heat still to go.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So far from 9 competitors on stage, we've got 7 personal bests. And Bill Joaquin with his time of 33:28. No personal best there, but he's sitting in 3rd place in the underhand chop results. So Johnny Lewis at the top, Tom Redmond right behind him, and Bill Joaquin in 3rd place as we take a look back with a thumbs up from Johnny Lewis as these two boys really got into it and showing you some skills from the British participants here in Telford. So a fantastic heat between these two guys. Let's not forget, though, that it's not all about the heat necessarily. It's more about the time, because these guys want to try and accumulate as many points as they can through rounds number 1, meaning the underhand chop, the stocks on the standing block chop, so that they can move on to the next round, which is the single buck and the springboard. And eventually, if they're lucky enough, be one of the top 6 athletes to hit the hot saw, which is the make or breaker discipline. And we move on to our next heat with Johnny Lewis. And, oh, excuse me, Glen Pendlington and Elgin Pugh. I've just jumped back a notch here. So a young guy who's got some skills, years old, going up against also youngish guy at 39. But what you have to know about Elgin Pugh is he has won 5 of the 7 British Championships. This guy is legendary. Glen Pendlington knows this, so he's got his work cut out for him. And Elgin has also participated in the individual World Championships. So he has got some pedigree behind him as well. Here we go.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Big pre-swing from Elgin Pugh, and that was just his experience playing a role. Glen Pendlington getting into it. Both of these guys pretty quick axes as well. I'd be curious to know who goes over to the other side. Oh, it's Glen Pendlington, 1 axe swing ahead of Elgin Pugh onto the other side. Now it's about the fitness and keeping those hits really accurate and making sure you don't get that axe caught. It's going to be a tight one between these two as they're really going for it. And it looks like it might be Elgin Pugh getting through first. No, excuse me, Glen Pendlington at a 28.51 and Elgin Pugh a stroke behind at 29.55. Interestingly enough, those times are only good for 3rd place and 4th places in the standings.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So Johnny Lewis's time of 24.12 holds water, and after adjusted times, I'm looking at the scoreboard here, Glen Pendlington and Elgin Pugh both have, okay, let's see, 29.17 for Glen Pendlington, Elgin Pugh with a 29.34. So they are sitting in 3rd and 4th places respectively, and as we look back at the slow-mo for these two guys, it was actually Glen Pendlington that got a little bit of an axe stick off of his first hit, and Elgin Pugh got into the rhythm a bit quicker, but Pendlington, he was just about a half axe swing, maybe a full axe swing ahead of, yeah, there you go, a half axe swing, I'm going to say, ahead of Elgin as they moved over to the other side, and then it's all about getting those shots really well placed and keeping that fitness level and that flow going as you get into the second side here. And it was Pendlington that managed to get through in the faster time than Elgin Pugh. But that doesn't mean Pugh is out. It just means that he's playing the game. How close was that? Wow. All right, so there you have the order of operation for the underhand chop. Johnny Lewis on top, Tom Redmond and Glen Pendlington 1, 2, and 3. And that will be the way it is with the overall standings as well, as this is our first discipline in round 1.
Troy, I really enjoy that. How about that for a great start? And the Telford stage looks absolutely amazing, and so has the performance of our athletes been. And Alex, I'm pretty sure you have found someone to talk to back there. How are you guys on?
Yes, Floaty, I certainly have found someone. I do apologise about the noise of the hot sauce behind us. I'm joined by Johnny Lewis, who's just posted a miraculous personal best. What have you been doing during lockdown to post the new PB and take away those full 8 points there?
Well, I've been, I can say as I've been training a great deal. I've been getting in as much training as I could, but I'm back to a physical job, so that helps. But no, more than pleased with that. New axe out for today, so that's made a big improvement. So yeah, more than chuffed.
I was just talking before, you finished 2019 at the last Pro GB Championships we had before the pandemic with a 2nd place finish. It looks like you've started today with a real bit between your teeth.
Oh, you never come here not expecting to try, and we all come with the anticipation to have a go, and at the moment, like you say, it's working out well. I prefer the chopping events, so them's my strongest events, so yeah, we'll take as much as we can in them to start. So yeah.
We all know Elgin Pugh, 5-time consecutive champion here with the pro events. It's an open field this year, would you say, Johnny?
It's yeah. It's good to see the youngsters coming through in the bottom, and they've got a good fighting chance as well. You know what I mean? We can't knock them at all. They're setting some good times. So it is completely an open field, and you know what I mean, hope I stay at the top of it, you know what I mean? We just have to see, you know what I mean?
Well, he's certainly there to be knocked down now, and I'm not going to be the man to do it. It's back to you guys in the studio. That was Johnny Lewis.
Thanks very much, Johnny and Alex. That was a very enjoyable interview. But we've got the STIHL coming up in a second. Yolanda, how about that discipline? Do you think it's a big difference to the chopping events?
It definitely is. It is a tricky discipline. Everybody thinks, oh, stock saw, I got it.
Let's just do it, yeah.
It does need a little bit of training.
And I love, you can just buy that saw. So, I mean, practically anyone could have the saw, but not be able to do what these guys are doing. So this is all you need to be about the next discipline.
The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional STIHL technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks.
Redmond, Heat 4, Andrew Evans against Matt O'Rourke. Heat 5, Bill Joaquin take on Glen Pendlington. And finally, in Heat 6, Johnny Lewis against Elgin Pugh.
All right, once again, we are going to have a single athlete on stage because of the odd number of athletes competing in our first set of disciplines here. And as you see, Joseph Groom, this is his first appearance at the British Championship, and his favorite discipline is the underhand chop, and that definitely showed as he was very, very good, getting a personal best for that discipline. And yeah, he is going to have to battle his way through the stock saw. Now, what you heard Yolanda mention earlier on is that it's not as easy as you might think, just taking a motor saw and getting out on stage and cutting a couple of cookies. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and that's something that these guys have to train for and be really prepared for, because it's not about just turning it on and hammering it onto the block. If you put too much pressure on that saw, the chain will stall, and then you have to stop and restart the chain, and so that costs you time. If you don't put enough pressure on it, you're not cutting quickly though. So it's a fine balance between technique and power.
Athletes ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, he's got a bad cookie start there, and he's had to restart it. That's going to cost him some time. He gets right into it. Nice transition to the upcut. As long as he can keep that flow going, he'll get himself a personal best out of that, and a 14:32. Hey, that is a really solid time for Joseph Groom, and a personal best for that young man right there. I say young man, but 31 years of age. They're checking the cuts and everything. Looks good. It was very good and a very quick reaction on his part that he saw that cutout at the beginning.
Cut is good.
And that is exactly why. He saw that he was cutting out at the beginning and went back and restarted his first initial cut. So that was an important aspect for him to make sure that he had 2 cookies on the deck, because otherwise that would have been a disqualification for him, and that's something you don't want to have in this particular situation. All right, there you go. That was the saw choice. There are 2 saws on stage. They are always maintained by a professional STIHL technician before the events, And there you can see the cutout, and he noticed it right away, so he wasn't too deep into the block. Went back and made that second attempt at the cut. And if you watch right here, the upswing, there was a little bit of a question whether or not he might come really close, but that second cookie, you can definitely say thin to win there. And that was a nice upcut. And so now we move on to our next heat between Graham Turner and Ocean Williams. Now you see these guys marking the blocks there. They are giving themselves a guideline for their first and second cuts. So they'll do a small mark at the top and then another mark at the midsection, so they'll see where exactly they have to try and aim their saw. Remember, you've got a piece of machinery in your hand that's not exactly light, and then there's all the moving parts. We'll talk more about moving parts and weight later on. There's no comparison here, but you have to be really on point. So Graham Turner on the left, Ocean Williams on the right. Nice start for both. A little bit of a heavy swing for Ocean Williams, but he's fast on the upcut. Oh, and a bit of a stall for Graham Turner. And he had to reposition and get that blade through a little bit farther. Both of them taking personal best times, though. Graham Turner with a 15:47 and Ocean Williams with a 12:34 at the end after adjustment will take over the top spot in the stock saw results.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Now we should burn through the stock saw quickly. As you can see, the teams come out on stage, make sure the stage is nice and clean, re-flatten the cuts so that everything is nice and square. And we take a quick look. Now there's what I was talking about, the markings that they put on the blocks to make sure that they have a target to aim for with that blade. Man, that was a really nice start for both of these guys, actually. Now, one thing I did notice is that on Graham Turner's side, he had barely any kind of bottom swing, but then right there, he got the tip of the axe, or the tip of the axe, the tip of the saw buried inside the block. And so he needed to readjust and go down. You can see where it disappears, that sawdust spray goes down. So now Terry Hoff and Tom Redmond are up against each other. Tom Redmond, being a new competitor, won't have a personal best time, so whatever time he gets here today will be his personal best. Tom Redmond will be on the right-hand side and Terry Hoff on the left. Now, Tom Redmond had a fantastic underhand chop earlier on, and he looked really good. In fact, he was sitting second place in the underhand chop, so that sets him up well in the standings, and if he can keep that flow going, then he may well be in contention for the top spot on the podium, but that's still a long way away. Now, I mentioned earlier the mental aspect of everything that goes on here. You can see these guys, they'll check the position of the saw.
Ready.
They'll look at their hand positions. Here we go. So Terry Hoff getting in nice, buttery smooth. Tom Redmond looking really good, barely any upswing or transition actually on the upstroke, and it's going to be Redmond with a 13.24. Terry Hoff with a 14.00. There'll be some adjustments on those times as well, but Tom Redmond, wow, he is having a day. Sitting in second place in the stock saw results so far with that it's a 13.07 after adjustment. And Terry Hoff with a 13.89. These guys are not that far apart. So hopefully we'll get a quick slow-mo look at those two guys there, Terry Hoff and Tom Redman. And again, that mental thing I was talking about, just repositioning and making sure that your moves are exactly how you want them to be. There's Terry Hoff. He had a thick cookie to start with. That's risky in the case of having to cut a thin one on the way back up because he gets really close to the line. Tom Redman, you saw really briefly on that transition, barely had any bottom swing before he started that upcut. And obviously he is really adept with that saw because that upcut was buttery smooth. All right, next heat coming up, we have Andrew Evans, the legend, going up against Matt O'Rourke. Matt O'Rourke, second time competing as a pro. He'll be on the right-hand side of your stage there. Andrew Evans right there on the left-hand side of your stage. Actually ended up having a nice evening out with Andrew Evans and the whole Great Britain crew a few years ago when we were in Liverpool at the Individual World Championships. Just a great bunch of people, and we had a lot of fun.
Athletes ready.
Wow, great start by Matt O'Rourke. He was on and in quick. That looks like a really clean cut from Andrew Evans, though. And Matt O'Rourke is going to be quick. It's going to be really quick. Oh, but it's Andrew Evans who got faster in the end with a 12.84, and Matt O'Rourke with a 13.16. Both really fantastic times, right up there in the top 5.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So after adjustment, Andrew Evans with a 12.79 and Matt O'Rourke just behind him with a 13.06 in positions 2 and 3 in the stock saw so far. Tom Redmond and Terry Hoff, they both got shifted positions 4 and 5, and Joseph Groom and Graham Turner are sitting down in position 6 and 7. But Ocean Williams with the fast cut so far at the top of the stock saw results as we take a look back at their slow-mos. And that looks like a really nice thin cookie for Matt O'Rourke there, as I thought for sure he was going to have that one, but Andrew Evans came from behind with a super buttery smooth clean cut. All right, moving on to the next heat, we have Bill Joaquin against Glen Pendlington. Now, Glen Pendlington actually says that the stock saw is one of the most difficult disciplines for him because there's a lot more technique than people realize, and he says he struggles to find the sweet spot of the saw during the cut. So that is something that it's interesting for him to admit that, going up against a guy like Bill Joaquin, who has competed in all 7 of the British Championships and has a lot of experience. Now, in fact, if I look at Glen Pendlington's list of accomplishments here, he's competed in 6 of the 7 Pro British Championships, so that's nothing to throw a stick at either. And these two guys should be well matched up. Nice start by Glen Pendlington, who we're on camera with right now. Bill Joaquin on the other side looks like, oh, he's got a cutout. Is that Bill Joaquin? It is. So he's got to reset. Glen Pendlington gets it done in 13.83. So that means he is sitting in 5th place in the stock saw. Obviously not his strongest discipline, and it was a great bit of recognition by Bill Joaquin, who saw a cutout happening and had to go back and recut, and there is a flag on the play. Now, by virtue of that cutout, I think that's the reason for the flag, but I did see him start to cut another cookie. The question is whether or not the judges see 2 cookies on deck.
Okay, unfortunately, on stand 1, we have a disqualification for an incomplete disc. However, this cut is good.
All right, so it's official. Bill Joaquin does get a DQ for an incomplete cookie, and I'm sure we'll get to see a slow-mo of that. And Glen Pendlington has himself a officially set time of 13:71. That puts him in 5th place, right in the middle of the pack at the moment for stock saw. And you can see here he had a good start, but he did say, and as I mentioned, that he struggles with the sweet spot of the saw. And there is that cutout. And he went back and he started to recut, but then he still didn't have a clean cut. Now you can see how that cut started in just at an angle. So there was actually no complete cookie there. That's really an unfortunate situation for Bill Joaquin. And our last heat on deck, heat number 6 between Johnny Lewis, who was, you could call him the Undertaker in the underhand chop. He took that down with a personal best 24:12. Now he's some damage in the stock saw against Elgin Pugh. When Elgin Pugh was asked who he thought was most likely to win the Pro Championships, he cheekily said, well, I have to say myself. I love it.
Okay,
oh,
gentlemen,
man.
Warm up your saw. Athletes ready.
Nice start. Oh, that is a good disc right there. Look how thin that cut is. Barely any bottom swing for both of these guys. A couple of legends, but it's going to be, oh, a quick hookup by Elgin Pugh, but he gets it in 11:78, and Johnny Lewis at a 12:57. So Johnny Lewis slips into 3rd place. Elgin Pugh at the top of the rankings there with the stock saw with a 12:04 after adjustment. And Johnny Lewis 12:60. So there's not a lot of difference between the top 3 guys right now in stock saw. And that will change things around a little bit in the overall standings. We'll take a look at that in a second.
Cuts are good.
And once again, our fantastic crew coming out onto the deck to make sure that everything is clean. And there'll be a complete stand change for our next discipline, the standing block chop. One of the most difficult, but let's take a look back at the stock saw here between Johnny Lewis and Elgin Pugh. Really, really nice start right there. And you can see he had a nice thin cookie, applying a bit of that fulcrum pressure, pushing down on the front hand while kind of holding that backhand. On the upstroke, though, you might see it at the top of the shot here. There's a little bit of a twitch, and I thought that maybe that would give the opening to Johnny Lewis to come through, but Johnny Lewis had a massive second cookie, and that probably slowed him down a little bit. More material to cut through and pressure on the saw. But both of them doing a great job. Elgin Pugh at the top of the stock saw standings with Ocean Williams and Johnny Lewis in 2nd and 3rd place, respectively. And if we take a look at the overall standings, that puts Johnny Lewis on the top of the overall standings with Elgin Pugh in 2nd place. So let's take a look at how that changes things around here so far at the 2nd discipline in round 1. There you go. Johnny Lewis, Elgin Pugh, Tom Redmond, 1, 2, and 3. Glen Pendlington still in the mix in 4th. Ocean Williams moves up. Tom Hauff moves up, and O'Rourke moves up as well. So Matt O'Rourke is shifting around in a positive way as well. So these guys, they need to be in the top 8 to move on to the 2nd round. But standing block chop is coming up next before that's going to happen.
It's like Troy is getting excited. Really enjoyed that 2nd round. Elgin Pugh wins the stock saw, and I'm sure Alex has 1 or 2 questions for the man. Over to you guys.
Yeah, you're right, Floaty. Elgin Pugh does win again. Now I'm joined by the man, the champ, in fact, here to my left. Now, Elgin, Let's be honest, in the underhand, you got off to a fairly slow start, but you are back with a vengeance in the stock saw.
Yeah, that's it, you know. Happy to get some points here on the stock saw, but like you said, the underhand was a bit of a rough start. Found some knots in the front of the block and just sort of hesitated and was almost thinking of switching axes, but I'd stick with it. But it was a rough cut, not too happy with, but keep building on that.
Listen, Elgin, you're reigning champ, British champion, 5-time champion, consecutive championships here in Britain. You're a man who can try his hand at anything. Now, I know during lockdown you've not necessarily been concentrating particularly on timber sports, you've been racing motorbikes as well.
Yeah, well, I've just got a bike to play with the kids and, being competitive, just started to do some racing and, just kept doing it, and it's kept me fit over lockdown and through the winter, so it's pretty good.
So we've seen you take the first place finish there in that last discipline. Is this you moving through the gears now as the event progresses?
Yeah, I like to think so. You can get a rough block and a rough cut, but there's 6 events. Hopefully I can keep building on that and just keep getting stronger now. So it'd be good to get a good position in the standing, and then single buck and springboard are 2 of my strongest events. So, hopefully get a pretty good cut in the standing and move on.
Elgin, thanks for talking to us. So Elgin has moved up to 2nd in the rankings, as Troy has detailed there. We've got 4 more disciplines here in Telford. It's great to be here. The atmosphere is building, friends and family in the audience. The saws are being prepared backstage. You can whiff the petrol. The atmosphere is electric here in Telford. Thank you, guys. It's back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Yolanda, any surprises so far for you?
No, I think it's pretty much how I guessed it would be, but like I said, it can happen to anyone that they all of a sudden go up or go down.
Especially in the standing block chop. That's coming up right now. And all you need to know about this discipline, well, here it is.
Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result.
One of my absolute favorite disciplines. This time in Heat 1, Bill Joaquin has to go all by himself. In Heat 2, we'll see Joseph Groom take on Graham Turner. In Heat 3, Terry Hoff against Ocean Williams. Heat 4 will consist of Andrew Evans and Matt O'Rourke. In Heat 5, Tom Redmond and Johnny Lewis. And finally, in Heat 6, we'll get to see Glen Pendlington take on Elgin Pugh. Let's do this.
All right, so Bill Joaquin is going to do this on his own. Everybody in the first round has, well, not everybody, but a few athletes in the first round will have to be on stage all by themselves. It's a rough situation because very often when you see another competitor out there, you can work off of that other competitor. You can kind of feed off that adrenaline of seeing them chopping at the same time that you're chopping and get a feel for where they're at in their chopping. So, being out there by yourself, you're basically fighting your own inner demons, or your innere Schweinehund, as the Germans say.
Athletes ready.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Really nice drives from Bill here. This is a particularly difficult discipline to become adept at because the angle of the axe needs to be just right. The drives need to be just right. One small mistake and that axe can skip away on you and become a dangerous instrument rather than a tool. But this is looking good for Bill. There he goes at a 33.98. So he drops that block in 33.98 seconds.
Congratulations.
He looks pretty happy with that.
The cut is good.
All right, so Bill Joaquin sets the stage for our standing block chop, and our next heat coming up will be between Joseph Groom and Graham Turner. So you can see here, Bill, 2 hits down, or 2 hits up, 2 hits down. Just getting right into it deep as he moves to the other side here. We get a bit far away shot here, but what you don't see from this shot is those big slabs that are coming off from him. And look at that, just absolutely hammers that thing into outfield with that final drive. Good job by Bill Joaquin, and there we have our next lineup. Joseph Groom against Graham Turner. Couple of big boys.
In the British World Championships, taking the stage in the standing block shot. Please welcome Joe Groom and Graham Turner.
So both of these gentlemen are new to the pro competition. And Graham Turner, by the way, is Great Britain's first Scottish pro athlete. Ambassador in Scotland for timber sports.
Okay.
And especially if he can continue how he has performed today.
3, 2, 1. Go!
Wow, look at the power these guys are throwing at those blocks. Unbelievable. Two up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down. And Graham Turner has already moved over. Joseph Groom has now come over to the other side of his block. Graham Turner with a bit of an advantage here as Joseph Groom. Oh, and Graham Turner's got that thing wobbling and he blocks it off. And a 36.70 personal best. Graham Turner with a 36.85. So it was close between these two guys. It was Graham Turner with the actually 36.85 and Joseph Groom with a 37.24.
Congratulations. Both cuts are good.
It's not very often you're going to see a DQ in the standing block chop. Normally that comes from, you know, a bit of a late start or an early start, excuse me, jumping the gun. But a couple of big boys that were just going at it with everything they had in this one. Joseph Groom with his 36.75, 36.35 after adjustment here. Graham Turner with a 36.71. Why they do those adjustments, by the way, is the high-speed cameras that they use will determine when the block is actually split. And it's a physical timer that hits the button for the stop, and then the adjustment will be made. And sometimes, more often than not, you're going to see a little bit of a faster time pop up. And this is the reason why Joseph Groom has got a 36.35 and Graham Turner with a 36.71. Still, both of these guys having personal bests, and a great job by both of them.
As they are bringing in some new wood in Telford, that gives me the chance to ask you, Yolanda, a question. You said the underhand chop is more or less your favorite discipline. Why not the standing block chop?
Well, actually, the ladies are only allowed to start doing the standing now. So a few of us have been practicing it, but we haven't been able to test it yet in competition.
So it might become one of your favorite disciplines.
That's right.
Because it really feels like it's historic. I mean, taking a look at these pictures on the wall, you know this is one of the disciplines it all started off with. And we're going to take a closer look at the history of timber sports right now.
Expert woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies.
An axeman's gathering.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, that is historic. That is the original extreme sport, and we've got a lot more coming up this season. Let's take a look at the schedule. You can, oh yeah, go ahead.
So next weekend we'll actually be in Switzerland for the Swiss Championships.
Oh, you're really going to look forward to that. That is your home. And that, of course, is not all.
No, the World Trophy European Qualifier is also taking place on the 12th of September.
And then on the 2nd of October, oh yes, individual World Championship here in Munich. And I'm very sure you're not going to miss out on that, are you?
Definitely not.
That's going to be the big highlights of the season as we go back to Troy Mannering and the competition.
All right, our guys are already on stage for this next battle between Terry Hoff and Ocean Williams. The anticipation mounts as they are standing in wait for the bell.
Okay, gentlemen. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
Interesting note on how Terry Hoff started. He said he saw a demo at a local show and asked if he could have a go, and that was all she wrote. And there you see Ocean Williams absolutely giving her. Nice job. Getting some big slabs. Terry Hoff moved over to the other side of his block already, and he is digging in. Looks like he might have a hard spot, though, as that seems to be hopping a bit. And Ocean Williams has now also moved over to the backside of his block. And these two guys really going for it. Oh, boy, Terry Hoff. That thing hopped off the top of that block. And a 32.78 for Terry and a personal best for him. And Ocean Williams also gets himself a personal best with a 45.83. Remember, we're not all about the guys beating each other on stage here. Of course, it's a competition, but it's about the time, and we always like to see personal bests.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So Ocean Williams, being a new competitor to the pro circuit, will take that personal best every time and use that as motivation to increase and improve his level on this stage. Ocean Williams, 39 years old. Terry Hoff, 55 years old. But I loved how the block just hopped off the top of Terry Hoff's when he was giving it that last drive. And you can see here's Terry Hoff just going at it. He's got some quick hits there. He moves over to the other side, avoiding as much of that slough on the floor as he can. Ocean Williams about 3 strokes behind Terry as he moves around to the other side. And let's see if we can get a picture of that last drive from Terry Hoff. Watch this right here. One more. Whoop, there it goes. Pops off the top. No outfield blast for him on that one, but I loved how it just kind of hopped up there and went for broke as it hit the floor. Couple of sticks by Ocean Williams there as he finally gets it done, and we have our next heat ready to go between Andrew Evans, the Granddaddy Caddy, and Matt O'Rourke. So Matt O'Rourke has had some time to think on this one because his personal best is, yeah, well, let's put it this way, not personally best at all, 125.61. So he'll definitely want to improve on that, as this is not his strongest discipline.
Okay, gentlemen.
And he's going up against Andrew Evans, who's going to provide him a lot of motivation.
3, 2, 1, go!
So this event is, or this discipline rather, is where that skill and practice, it's just about practice, training and training and training, finding those angles, finding those little bits and pieces. And I think we're going to have a personal best from Matt O'Rourke without a word of a doubt here, as he is already over to the other side, just ahead of Andrew Evans. It's looking good for both of these guys, and both of them are just giving it their all. But Matt O'Rourke looking really good here, as he should obliterate his previous personal best in this discipline, and he does by a landslide. 36.77 for Matt O'Rourke. That puts him in 5th place in the standing block chop, but more than anything, I think he's going to be happy that he is under a minute, because his previous time was a minute and change, a minute 25.61. So yeah, he's going to be happy about that time, definitely.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Good, happy, we're happy.
All right, so Andrew Evans with a 41.78. That puts him at the moment in 6th in standing block chop and 9th overall. Matt O'Rourke, though, what a fantastic job by him to get through there in a personal best time of 36.46. As we take a look here, he just absolutely targeted that. You can see he's choking up on the axe a little bit too on his bottom hand, so he's not really using the entire length of the axe. Maybe this was a tactical decision on his part, just to try and get some faster blows in there. That's something that maybe Yolanda can allude to a little bit later on when we get back into the studio. But both of these guys doing a really good job as they come around. I mean, I'm going to say Andrew Evans was maybe 1 stroke behind Matt O'Rourke as they came around to the other side. But I loved seeing the great job that Matt O'Rourke did, especially against a legend like Andrew Evans. Great job by both of these guys here. And yeah, really nice battle between them. Final blow from Matt was just fantastic, and he's going to be happy with that. There you go. That's the fist bump that we needed. And that final drive from Andrew Evans, and you can see he's not super pleased with that. So let's take a look at the standing block chop so far, and that is Terry Hoff up on top with his 32.55. Bill Joaquin in 2nd place, Joseph Groom in 3rd, Matt O'Rourke, Graham Turner, Andrew Evans, and Ocean Williams, rounding out the top 7 with our first 3-4 heats taken care of, and then 2 more heats still to go. And I'm wondering if we're going to get an overall standing as well before we head back to the studio. Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, Troy, I have to say I really enjoy watching that beautiful stage in Telford, but the reverse angle is even nicer, Yolanda, because we get to see a crowd. We get to see people watching STIHL Timbersports.
Exactly. It is unreal.
How much do you miss that?
Oh, I can't even describe it. It helps the athletes so much when the crowd goes wild.
And I'm going to make it even worse because I'm going to show you a clip of World Championship atmosphere. This is STIHL Timbersports. Enjoy.
It comes down to Mitch Argent and Shane Jordan battling hard on the standing block. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Australia or New Zealand? Oh my God, how close is this? And it's Australia!
The atmosphere last night in the team's relay was unreal.
That is their title of Team World Champion 2 years in a row.
Oh, definitely. It'd be the noisiest crowd I've competed against.
Shane Jordan's already over there.
Yeah, it's I'm actually kind of getting goosebumps thinking about it right now.
The crowds here, they were just erupting.
You feel the energy of the crowd.
My goodness, what a great comeback from Belgium with a time of 1.
The crowd was absolutely electric.
And it was so much noise and support.
Ja, doch, das pusht schon rum. Mein Fanclub ist auch da.
very passionate about their country and, yeah, the competitors. Yeah, it feels super.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
But he's not giving up. He's looking good.
Like such an adrenaline rush. It's an amazing feeling.
They make a lot of noise, and that's good for our spirit. It's going to be the Czech Republic, and the crowd goes bananas. It's absolutely extreme here. Man hört.
All right, Tom Redmond, who has been a real surprising addition here as a new competitor, has been training really hard, and it shows. He's going up against Johnny Lewis, who has been solid all day long. By the way, Johnny Lewis is sitting in second place in the overall standings at the moment, so with a good cut here, he could very well take over the top spot. But if we look back at what Tom Redmond has done so far in the day, he's been solid in the middle at stock saw, and in underhand chop, he was in second, so the standing block chop could be a good move for him if he can pull it off well and solid.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, a slip by Tom right off the hop. That's going to play havoc with his head if he doesn't get that under control. Meanwhile, Johnny Lewis just throwing in some huge hits there. Redmond over to the other side quick, though, and Johnny Lewis right there with him. So Tom Redmond, again, looking very solid up against Johnny Lewis. Has been good all day long. 2 more blows for Johnny should do it. Oh, it's going to be Tom Redmond with a 25.86. Wow! What a day! What a day for Tom Redmond at 25.86. That puts him at the top of the standing block chop result so far. Johnny Lewis a stroke behind at 29.81, and another personal best goes out the window for Redmond. Hey, it's been fantastic to watch that man go at it all day long. And whoever that friend is who got him into timber sports, thank you very much.
Both cuts are good.
You can see some real power right now on stage. You now see the new leaders in that discipline. Tom Redmond taking the full amount of points up to now, and Johnny's not far behind.
As I mentioned earlier, Tom Redmond has a teammate in Joseph Groom. So there's a bit of an internal battle between these two guys. But if we look at this here, Johnny Lewis, just wow, big, huge slabs coming off that block. And you can see the body action of Tom Redmond. He was actually stepping off of that back foot and pushing in with a huge hip twist. And that's exactly what you need. And obviously that played a huge role in a fantastic cut on the standing block chop here. There was just no holding that man back as he hammered that top block off. And there we go, Johnny Lewis just a stroke behind. And that leaves us up to our heat number 6, the last heat in standing block chop. And then we'll have a bit of a shift in the overall rankings to find out which 8 athletes will move on to round 2. So Glen Pendlington, he's definitely a guy to watch. He's been training hard. The question is this his year to beat Elgin Pugh? At the moment, Glen is sitting at the bottom of the rankings, so he needs to have an absolutely stellar standing block chop. And meanwhile, Elgin Pugh is sitting in 4th place.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Glen Pendlington moving fast with that axe. Elgin Pugh going for those long, heavy strokes from the outside field. And Pendlington looking very, very good, moving over to the other side now. Pendlington done the same. I'm going to say Pendlington because I didn't actually see his move, but based on the slab that he clocked out there, I'm going to say he was about 1 or 2 strokes behind Elgin Pugh. But it's a great time for both of them. Glen Pendlington with a 25.82 and Elgin Pugh with a 26.21. And that means Glen Pendlington moves up to number 2 in the standing block chop. And that puts him in a great position in the overall standings, means he should go on to the next round. Boy, he needed that.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Great effort there from both Glen and Elgin. It's not quite enough to topple Tom Redmond, who still retains and wins that standing top event. Elgin, third place in that discipline. Glen is second.
All right, let's take a look back at the slow-mos here between these two. There's Glen getting set up, and there's Elgin. Glen absolutely gave Elgin a run for the money, but you can see the difference between the two. Elgin was going for those long haymaker strokes from way out left field. Meanwhile, Glen was just, I mean, he wasn't hitting non-heavy strokes or anything, but he was just hitting more frequently. And that, I think, was the difference maker for the time between the two, because it was really only maybe 1.5, 2 strokes difference between them when those blocks came off the top here. And now you can see Elgin, there's a nice drive, that final drive by him, but he was just a hair behind Glen Pendlington. You can see, oh, it's even a half stroke from that angle. Just fantastic. So Tom Redmond still on top of the standing block chop results. Glen Pendlington and Elgin Pugh in second and third place respectively. Johnny Lewis, Terry Hoff in 4 and 5. And that's going to be interesting how it changes things in the overall standings, as we'll get a quick look at that. Remember, it's the top 8 athletes that are moving on to round number 2, which will Springboard, or as they like to call it here, tree. So in the overall standings, we can see Johnny Lewis stays in the top spot. It's going to be Hoff moving up a notch. Williams goes down. O'Rourke stays where he is. Joseph Groom moves up into that 8th position. So he's lucky to be lucky and lucky to be good. Joaquin, Turner, and Evans will be eliminated from competition here. And a great job by Glen Pendlington to just pull it out and get himself into the next round. So there we have it.
Wow, only 1 point separating the top 3. And Troy, I really enjoyed when you said whoever that friend of Tom Redmond is, thumbs up to this man, because he brought into STIHL Timbersports, winning the standing block chop. Alex, I'm sure you've already found someone to talk to. How are you guys doing at the moment? Everything is getting really exciting now as we proceed to round number 2.
That's right, Floaty. I'm joined by the very man who took the stage by storm, who took the block by storm there, Tom Redmond. This is your first experiences with the pro GB athletes today. You were like a Viking invader on that stage.
Well, I tried to give it my best, but yeah, did the job at the end of the day, but it wasn't the tidiest cut I've ever done, but no, still happy with it, happy with the time anyway.
Don't downplay it at all. Come on, that was a great effort. What are your hopes for the rest of the competition?
Well, if I can stay in amongst it as I am at the moment, then happy days. Happy days. I mean, first time up, so I'm just keen to be, getting involved as I can.
Listen, you're right up there. You're there to be knocked down yourself. Have you got your favourite event to come, or have we seen it already from you?
Mine would be the standing block, so we've just seen that, but hopefully we'll try and push on with the rest of the events.
Now, what have you got left in the tank? Because you just had a little sit down there.
There's always plenty in the tank.
Good man. Listen, Tom, thanks very much for talking to us. You've just seen Tom Redmond absolutely obliterate the standing block chop event there. That's put him right in the mix up with Elgin, Pugh, Glen Pendlington and Johnny Lewis. We've got more white-hot action here from Telford to come, as I'm sure you'll agree.
Absolutely agreed. Yolanda, you have to have something left in the tank, as they so beautifully said, because 2 more big rounds coming up.
That's right. And they're the ones that count.
Absolutely. And some of those scenes you can already watch on Amazon Prime. A lot of competitions that are, that have already been happening and you can watch now. And of course, everything that's going to be happening in the future. So make sure to take a closer look at everything right here.
Oh my God, how close is this? It's one of the closest heats we've had all day long, and it's Australia.
When the crowd start, you know, erupting, screaming and shouting, it just really does give you goosebumps.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
I've been working my ass off the last 5 years to get to this point.
Is it going to be the checker moment? Yes, it is! And the crowd goes bananas! There, he moves on, then goes down. He's looking good!
It might make some people nervous. It doesn't make me nervous. It makes me ready to go.
To come here to the World Championships is one of my dreams. It has been ever since as a kid.
And of course, round 2 starts with a single buck, and trust me, that is a very, very, very difficult discipline. All you need to know about single buck, here it is.
The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter-long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand-sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into 2 types, cutters and rakers, just like on the old-school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around €1,500. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc of a 46-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success.
Needs remaining. Let's take a look at the heats. Joseph Groom against Matt O'Rourke in Heat 1. Heat 2 consisting of Ocean Williams and Terry Hoff. In Heat 3, we'll see Glen Pendlington take on Tom Redmond. And finally, in Heat number 4, it will be Elgin Pugh taking on Johnny Lewis. Over to you, Troy.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. And getting ready with the single buck, otherwise known as the Misery Whip, and heat number 1, Joseph Groom will be going up against Matt O'Rourke. Now, both of these guys have said that, yeah, the single buck is not necessarily their top, but the one difference is Joseph Groom, he recently bought his own saw in order to be able to train with it. So, you know, we'll see how these guys come out with the thing at the end of the day. Single buck is, it takes a whole lot of core strength, is the word from Matt O'Rourke. And he himself says it's something he's lacking in the last years. I'm really hoping that both of these guys have got their cores tight for this one, because you're going to need it. And you'll see exactly why once they finally get these saws moving. You'll also see a couple of different styles from various athletes. Some guys will utilize the entire length of the saw, all 2 meters of it, and more or less bringing their knuckles right to the wood and burying it and pulling that saw all the way back so that the very tip of the saw disappears inside that block. You'll see other guys who are going to opt for quicker, or rather faster strokes, using just the middle section of the saw. Both are effective. One is a little bit more efficient than the other. And then you can see right away Joseph Groom opts for getting a fairly thin setup on his start cut. So then he'll clean out the middle of that track with the saw, making sure there's nothing in the way. And again, the technique plays a huge role here, fitness and fluidity. If you have a good technique and you don't angle that saw too much, then you don't have to risk it too badly getting hooked up on a sharp edge or something like that. And in this case, it is single buck with assistance. There is also the discipline single buck without assistance, for which we have another altogether different world record time. But the single buck with assistance world record is 9.39 seconds. Keep an eye on that time. Jason Wynyard from New Zealand holds that record and has held it since 2007. That is a lot of years to hold a record. In fact, I believe it is the longest standing world record currently on the books. Now what you're seeing here with Matt O'Rourke is just setting the saw upside down in that groove so you can get a couple of test strokes in without illegally cutting deeper than the saw is supposed to be sitting.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, here we go. Let's check these styles between these two guys. It's going to be a couple of quick starts. Yeah, Joseph Groom going for those big, long strokes, really working it to his advantage. Matt O'Rourke struggling to keep that saw moving as he's hooked up a couple of times, getting a lot of support from his wedger and sprayer there, but Joseph Groom is looking really good as he blocks that thing out at 22.08 with a nice cookie and a personal best. So that is the time to beat at the moment. Matt O'Rourke struggling, and you can see he's not really using that back leg or the body twist to his advantage. So that's that core strength that he mentioned earlier on. So if he stands back on that back leg a little bit farther and just pushes off that back leg with a wider stance, that will help him even without a lot of core strength. But as Yolanda mentioned earlier on, you have to be strong all around, but in particular, core strength is a huge one for this one.
Both cuts are good.
So Joseph Groom has been putting on a bit of a show today as well. And his buddy Tom Redmond will definitely be keeping a close eye on how this one went down. And right there you can see how the saw stops for Matt O'Rourke, and he just struggled to get the thing started again. And then the other reason why they call it the misery whip is when he gets it stuck on the back end of the draw and tries to push it through, it bows and bends, and that just makes it so much more difficult to maneuver that 2-meter long saw with all those cutting and sweeping teeth. That is a ton of extra work that has to go on there, and you can see Joseph Broome really utilizing the full length of the saw. So that is an area where Matt O'Rourke is going to actually have to do a lot of work in order to become proficient with this particular discipline. Everywhere else, he's really strong, but with this particular discipline, he definitely needs to step up his game. All right, Ocean Williams up next against Terry Hoff. Couple of boys from Wales going to be battling with each other. That is some ominous music in the background there. Any second now, the Candyman's going to come onto the stage and start providing problems. No, I'm just kidding. So Ocean Williams will be on stand A on the left-hand side of your stage. Terry Hoff, stand B on the right. Ocean, as we mentioned earlier on, is new to the competition, the pro competition. Terry Hoff has been competing in 6 of 7 of the pro British competitions. I like his headspace, though. Has asked what keeps you motivated, and he says, yeah, got to keep moving and not slow down. And at 55 years of age, he's still looking fit as a fiddle. His profile picture is also quite funny. He's got mischievous eyes, so I'm guessing based on that he is the jokester on the backstage of these events.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Ocean Williams already getting into a bit of trouble getting that saw stuck a couple of times, and that is a heavy hookup that he's got there that he's got to battle through. Terry Hoff also had a little bit of one, but readjusted quickly and got the action going. Now there you see the wedge going into place. The wedge is designed to keep that cookie from binding on the saw as they go through, which is why this particular discipline is so much easier when you have a helper there. And Terry Hoff with a 26.28 has a personal best and moves into second place just behind Joseph Groom. Ocean Williams with a 37.73. Also a personal best for that man in his first pro competition. Good job, though.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
All right, so Ocean Williams getting a little bit of feedback there from an absolute legend, Andrew Evans, who is his wedger and sprayer, and also giving him some support there. As you can see, that saw got stuck numerous times on the draw through. Same thing happened for Terry Hoff there, but he readjusted quickly and got that saw moving, and then he was back in the rhythm of it. And that's really what's so important about this particular discipline, is just to keep that saw moving, keep that rhythm going. Even if it's not so fast, try not to get that saw stopped and drop a full cookie. Now at the end here, this one looked a little bit dangerous as he almost twist broke off that cookie, but the cookie was complete. The little extra piece that came from the main block itself, so that led to it being a fair cut. And we move on to our next heat between Glen Pendlington and Tom Redmond, who has been a lot of fun to watch today. So when asked who he thought is likely to win the Pro Championship, Tom Redmond said either Glen Pendlington or Elgin Pugh. So I wonder how much that's playing a role in his headspace right now as he snuck a peek across the stage towards where Glen Pendlington was setting up his saw and position.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, and a bit of a trunky start for Tom Redmond as it took him a while to get going. Glen Pendlington right into it, though he's a bit more than halfway through his block, I would say, as he is coming close to the bottom of his cut. He gets stuck a couple of times, though, but manages to pull it. Oh! In 17.29, Tom Redmond struggling on this discipline at a really steep angle on that saw, and you can see he is just using every ounce of his power to try and pull that through. 30.72 for Tom Redmond, and he is spent. Said he had to save some energy. Well, that's the discipline he needed it for at this point. Interestingly enough, Tom Redmond with that 30.42 is sitting in 4th place at the moment. Glen Pendlington, though, wow, he was just fast as a beaver cutting through a thin piece of wood to make his dam.
Both cuts are good.
17.03 for Glen Pendlington. Tom Redmond with a 30.42. And I'm looking at the list here. Every single guy who's cut so far has got a personal best. Good wood today. And as I said off the top, you know, this is about getting that saw in motion. And that's the big trouble there right off the bat for Tom Redmond. He was motivated, but getting that saw moving was his biggest problem. Once it was going, then it was okay until he got down to the bottom of his cut. And then he started to say, oh boy, this is a lot harder than I realized. And the power just started to leave him. Meanwhile, Glen Pendlington with an absolutely blistering 17.03 cut. And I love the battle on Tom Redmond, though. I love the battle. Never give up. That's the attitude. But, you know, these bigger guys, they got a lot more muscle mass to deal with. And That means more oxygen is required to keep those muscles moving in these competitions. And if you're not fit as a fiddle going into this, you're going to struggle in the latter half of some of these cutting and sawing disciplines. Next heat up, heat number 4, the last heat in this round, or in this discipline between Elgin Pugh and Big Johnny Lewis.
Please give it up for our athletes, Elgin Pugh and Johnny Lewis.
Elgin Pugh's personal best is a solid 14:22. Johnny Lewis 19:79. So both of them under the 22nd mark, and that could mean for Tom Redmond a little bit of bad luck if they both hit their stride here. Although he should be okay. We should see Tom Redmond going, or at least going on to Springboard, and that's a discipline that he's going to have to really get through.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
So you can see the difference here. Elgin Pugh starts right away with long strokes, whereas Johnny Lewis decides to go for the short, quick, choppy strokes there to just try and get in there as much as possible. But the more efficient cuts of Elgin Pugh is definitely advantage. And he's got a 15.89 cut. Johnny Lewis isn't going to make his personal best. He'll be over 20, but you can see the difference here with those short, choppy cuts. He's going to get through, but it's going to be 28.05. So he slips into 5th place. Elgin Pugh moves up into the top of the ranking in single buck, just ahead of Glen Pendlington. Elgin Pugh with a 15.65 after adjustment.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Interestingly enough, single buck is the most difficult discipline for him to handle. And it was quite obvious in that you can see the difference in the style between these two guys. As, you know, Elgin really, he's not a massive dude, but, you know, he got every ounce of his length with a wide stance and going for those long strokes. And you can see here, Johnny Lewis, just really choppy short strokes, trying to, you know, cut it like a piece of bread, and it just wasn't working out for him. And Elgin Pugh going for those really nice long strokes. You know, Johnny Lewis is a solid boy, and, you know, with a little bit of practice on this one, stepping back on that back foot, giving him a little bit more length on the arms for those long strokes, and he'll be ripping through that in no time flat because he's got a lot of power. And obviously, the fitness isn't the problem, because being able to chop like or cut like that with that 2-meter long saw, it's taken even more effort. So, yeah. Single buck results so far, Elgin Pugh and Glen Pendlington, the two guys that are under 20 seconds with a 15.65, and Glen Pendlington with his 17.03 personal best. Then Joseph Groom, just over 20 seconds in 3rd place with a 21.83. Terry Hoff, 26.21. Then we got Johnny Lewis, who we just saw with a 27.81. Tom Redmond, Matt O'Rourke, 36.30, and Ocean Williams with a 37.38. And that means we'll head back into the studio and get ready for our, oh no, we check out the overall standings first. So let's see what this does to everything as we get our scores. Oh, look at this. Elgin Pugh moves up into the top spot with 47 points. Glen Pendlington with 41. Johnny Lewis, still in a good position with 39. And Tom Redmond, 36. Terry Hoff, 29. Joseph Groom with 27. Matt O'Rourke with 20. And Ocean Williams with 19. So, yeah. Bit of shifting around as we get ready for Springboard.
Absolutely. Glen Pendlington in 2nd place in the single buck and overall, and it looks like he's having a great time with Alex at the moment.
Yes, thanks, Floaty. Over here in Salford right now, I'm joined by Glen Pendlington, who posted a new personal best in the single buck, 17.03. Glen, shaving over half a second off your personal best. You must be happy.
Yeah, really happy. That's something I've worked quite hard on in the, you know, the off-COVID season, as we should say. And yeah, so happy to shave that half a second off, and yeah, do even more next time.
Now, I know in your professional life you've been busy and ever, you're in fantastic shape. You turned 30 last year, just in that window where you had a brief respite from lockdown. Did you celebrate at all?
Yeah, we managed to get out and do a little something with the boys, so, you know, we were lucky that it was in that gap where we could do stuff because of COVID, but yeah, so I did have a bit of a celebration.
Now, we also know that you're one of the more athletic members of the pro athletes here on show today. The Springboard, which is coming up, that's a real leveler, but you have to have your minerals about you for this discipline.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got to be fairly fit. It's the longest of the disciplines that we're going to do. So, you know, it's probably my favourite as well. Like, you know, I like getting up there and seeing what I can do, and hopefully I can set a new PB today.
Glen, any other fighting talk with a couple of events to go from yourself?
I think I just got to try and do the best I can, and, like, you know, we got the hot saw. Hopefully I'll get it to the hot saw at the end, and if I can get 3 discs on the floor and push on, then hopefully I might come away with a good win.
Now, I know obviously you just turned 30, but this is like your 7th, 8th event here with on the Pro GB Championships. It feels like you've been here forever. I feel like I've seen you grow up, Glen.
Yeah, I have. I've been here from a young age. You know, I think I was 22 when I done my first one. So, you know, I've been about it a long time and grown up with the sport with my old man doing it as well. So from that young age of about, you know, 4 or 5, I've watched the sport as it's gone. So, yeah, I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, very much a family feel here in Telford. Glen, as he says, he's got family in the crowd. It is a family show here in Telford. We're having a great time. We've got a couple of events to go, everything to play for.
Cheers, guys. A very modest man, Glen. I'm very sure he's going to make it to the hot, so if you ask me. But Yolanda, isn't it great to see 4 new pros in these GB championships?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's always nice to see new faces, and the talent that these guys already have as it being their first competition is so surprising.
Absolutely, and I think one of the reasons might be the Rookie Academy. So let's take a close look what's happening there.
Today we are at Bart Jensen's training camp in Holland, the rookie training camp.
It's a great experience because there are 3 national champions, Hans-Ove Hansen, Christoph Geisler, Martin Komarek, so it's fantastic.
I feel better prepared. It's nice to have 3 champions who he has for the training. Is I think the best way to grow up and to do stronger and better.
The knowledge of the experienced athletes, that's the key how we can move the sport and the new generation forward.
There is a lot of good rookies here today. They are a little bit tensed, they are a little bit nervous, but the level is high. So I'm looking forward to see the competition.
I hope when the athletes go home tomorrow night, they are excited for the next competition. They had some experience this weekend. They learned special things about the wood and equipment, and they feel well for the real big competitions.
I've already seen some of these youngsters compete. Oh my word, that's going to be a big danger for some of the older guys in a few years. How important do you think these rookie events, these rookie academies, that all the training is going to be?
It is very important, especially that they are getting that information from the pros. They can build up on that to use in the competitions.
How is it with yourself? How did you get all the experience to make you 3 times a Swiss champion? Did you have to, find it all out by yourself, or did you have a mentor?
Not a mentor in per se, but our club is fairly big and we have a lot of pros there that we can talk to, and of course with the help of STIHL.
So this morning you already saw some GB rookies. How was that?
It was amazing. There were a lot of new personal bests, which was very surprising.
Well, hopefully we're going to see some of these personal bests now, and that's what happened this morning. Wow, that's great to see. Just all that emotion coming out, performing maybe for the first time in front of a crowd, even if it's not the biggest crowd. But I think that's the kind of extra that you were talking about earlier today.
That's right. They have a little bit of a crowd there, which is definitely helping and cheering them on, and giving them more confidence to give it their all.
Especially like let's say the single buck. If you do this in practice, it might work fine, but standing out there, being nervous, seeing that beautiful stage that they've built in Telford, and then knowing, you know, you're going to be filmed by cameras, family and friends are going to be watching you. I don't know, it's not that easy. It's something you have to learn.
Definitely not. And exactly at this position where these young gentlemen right here, before you saw how the cookie broke off, that just racks your nerves, and then you got to get them back and try to finish that cut to get your points so that it's not a DQ.
But it's definitely great to see GB back in the game.
Yes, we're hoping that after this year that every country, everyone can get back at it, and with the public in the background.
So what would you advise to start off with if we have like the 6 disciplines we're seeing now in the pro competition? If you want to start off with STIHL Timbersports, is the standing block chop, is that the one to start off with?
Definitely not. For the chopping events, underhand is the optimal discipline to start off with. Stock saw and single buck are very close behind.
So you're not going to start off with the springboard or the hot saw?
No.
That might not be the wisest of choices.
No, the underhand is also one of the favorites for all the newcomers, for the rookies. It's the first time you get that axe in your hand and you can start chopping.
And you told me earlier you were pretty impressed by what you saw from GB rookies.
Yeah, the athleticism from these young gentlemen, they're ready, they've been training, they show that they can do it. Personal best say that.
Absolutely. And of course, getting their reward for competing, that's always nice to see.
Yeah, the chance to stand up on the podium at that level it's an amazing feeling. And then in the end, the champagne shower.
Yeah.
Is the highlight.
Well, you very much know what you're talking about, so I can totally understand. Yeah, but look at the happy faces, brilliant. And I have to repeat myself, I think the stage is absolutely fantastic. Well done, guys.
And here's that champagne shower.
Just like the pros. Absolutely fantastic. I know you enjoyed that. How about the wood that has been used in those competitions? Is it the same with the rookies as the pros?
The wood type is the same, just the size is the difference.
And the quality of the wood, of course, is very important.
That's right, that is also the same.
Well, let's find out how we can make sure that the quality of the wood is as good as it is.
Hi, my name's Spike Milton, Global Sports Director for STIHL Timbersports. Today we are in a plantation of young poplar.
One of the biggest challenges that I face as part of my role is to ensure that our competitions are supplied with the highest quality wood. We at STIHL Timbersports pride ourselves that all wood is sustainably grown, harvested and recycled to minimise the overall amount of wood processed. Firstly, this poplar wood is grown on certified plantations. These are fast-growing hybrids which are 100% sustainable. The plantations are predominantly used for the packaging industry, and therefore our trees can be considered as a side product. Secondly, the white pine for our sawing disciplines is only sourced from certified forest management. No matter where the wood is coming from, it is always harvested with minimum impact on the natural environment.
Each individual tree is examined for its conformation before processing. What we are looking for is consistency, which means not just how straight the tree is, but also how uniformly round the wood is. We need to make it fair for all athletes. So we are selecting different sections of the trees to use for each of our specific disciplines. I'm Bart Jensen, Head of Wood Management, and together with Spike, we have a wealth of knowledge and experience with long-term sustainable wood management. With a resistograph, we also measure the density of the wood. That is how hard or how soft the wood is and if there are nuts in it. To ensure the quality and high standards required for premium competition wood, we need to have a consistent grain structure with a uniform size, thus providing equal standards for all of our athletes. I don't see any nuts, so this tree is good for me.
Once the trees are felled, extracted and transported to our facilities, we measure, mark and then cut the wood into sized blocks.
Daan Jans here. As a specialist chainsaw operative, I oversee the further processing of our premium competition wood, from the plantation to the stage.
Removing all visible imperfections and knots which could affect the chopping or sawing of the block. We then peel the blocks ready for competition. Careful selection, the blocks then leave our yard and are distributed internationally to our STIHL TIMBERSPORTS competitions, guaranteeing fair competitions for all our pro, intermediate, rookie and women athletes.
After all our STIHL competitions, all the spent wood is collected and recycled right down to the wood chips and sawdust, which, for example, is converted into renewable energy in the form of wood pellets for biomass. Only 2/3 of all organic residues results from competitions. 1/3 is already from wood preparation. In order to achieve a long-term consistent premier wood supply for the coming years, we quest to find certified partners. This ensures that all newly planted trees are nurtured and managed, promoting maximum efficiency and sustainability for the future conservation of our valuable forests.
Therefore, as you can see, with good harvesting practices and good management with silviculture, the ground is quickly replaced by new trees, or could even be used for arable for farmers and future rotations.
Always very impressive to see this level of quality. And now we are getting ready for the Springboard.
Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible.
Now, this is one of the disciplines I think I will never truly understand. Yolanda, is it the most difficult of all?
I would say it is definitely the difficult chopping discipline, but it goes right in the category with the hot saw.
Because I'd be so scared standing up there and not being 100% sure, you know, if that springboard is going to hold me, and then, you know, have to put all your weights into the chop. And sometimes you can see, you know, if the board is sagging and they have to move up really close, and then it's all down just to the shoulder work instead of getting all the hip rotation into the movement. Very, very hard discipline.
That's right. Strength is a must have in this discipline, but being mentally prepared for the whole event is a big thing as well, because he starts out by the pockets, and if you can't get those pockets in just right, it starts going in circles in your head, and you just got to get back in that mindset to get up there and start chopping. Chopping's the easy part.
Okay, if you say so, but do you think this is one of the reasons why the rookies now have started with the Springboard in their competitions?
Yeah, it's kind of more to get them prepared for the Pro Series, that they can do that transition a lot quicker.
Is that something you would enjoy doing on a regular basis, like getting up on that Springboard?
I would love it. I'll have to try it.
Well, very much looking forward to that. I'm sure we're going to see you up on one of those big folks. And we're going to take a look at the start list now, because we're getting ready for the Springboard. Heat 1, Joseph Groom and Matt O'Rourke. In Heat 2, Ocean Williams and Terry Hoff. In Heat 3, Glen Pendlington and Tom Redmond. And finally, in Heat number 4, Elgin Pugh and Johnny Lewis. Ready to rock and roll. Troy, it's back to you.
Thanks, Marcus. And there you see the first heat lineup, Joseph Groom against Matt O'Rourke. And again, you're looking at a couple of big boys, and we always talk about, is bigger better in timber sports? Well, not always. And this is one of those disciplines where it definitely plays a role. But that doesn't mean you can't do something with this discipline, because if you get a good pocket and get that board set really well, then you've got a good stand to work with. Here we go. So Matt O'Rourke with a 6-hit pocket. Joseph Groom, I think he had 7. Really important is to get that board in place, and obviously Joseph Groom not feeling that board, neither is Matt O'Rourke. And this is where it gets critical. You want to get that board set. You want to make sure that you've got a good angle on the board. And remember, the first board is not nearly as important as that second board when you're 2 meters up in the air. So Matt O'Rourke's got himself a good first board set. You can see the angle on it. He can put a bit of pressure on that back leg and apply some power into the hits to get that second pocket set. Cleaning out some of the slough there, and accuracy is so crucial here. And you'll see both of these guys, they're choking up on the axe handle to make sure that they've got a little bit more accuracy and not as much power. You don't need to have a mega amount of power here to set those pockets. But one thing that I should note is there's a time limit here. You have to have it cut inside of 2 minutes 30 seconds. Now, Matt O'Rourke is on top of his second board, but you can see that board is sagging down below the 90-degree mark compared to the tree that he is standing on. Oh, and he skips a little bit there with his axe. And what's happening here is because that board is sagging, he doesn't have the power. He doesn't have that push off that back leg. So what's happening is he's stepping forward on the board to have more stability, which means he's got to hold the axe a little bit harder or a little bit higher up on the handle, and he doesn't have as much power going into those hits. And you can see he's barely making a dent on that top block, and he's already getting close to the 2-minute mark. Now remember, 2 minute 30 is the timeout here, and Joseph Groom isn't happy with his second pocket. He's got 30 seconds left to get that second pocket and cut that top block down. And Matt O'Rourke, who is on the top already, has barely made a dent in that first side. But he's still going. Joseph Groom, it looks like he has given up. Just absolutely devastated with the amount of power and headspace that you need for this particular discipline. 3 seconds left for Matt O'Rourke here. And there you see a timeout. So we're going to have a DQ for both these guys. We see a 2 minute 4:95 for Joseph Groom, but that will be a DQ'd non-start. So yeah, that's an unfortunate situation. But again, this is something that these guys have to have in their repertoire, and it's something that requires time and effort to get exactly right. And these guys coming from the rookies and becoming, as new pro competitors, just don't have the experience here yet.
Unfortunately, both disqualified, ran out of time.
So this is something that these guys will be talking about a lot, going back, looking at video footage to see how they can make the improvement. The big thing here is those pockets, and like Yolanda asserted to earlier, getting those pockets set quickly and getting up on the boards as quickly and efficiently as possible is so critical in this discipline. So the first board set there for Joseph Groom. He didn't like it. Matt O'Rourke got up on his first board, and the board position was actually not so great. He could see, he tested it, put it down, got his axe, and tried to set the second, or the pocket a little bit better. Now the second pocket's here. This is the critical pocket. You want to make sure that this pocket is absolutely perfect. So Matt O'Rourke sets the board in his pocket. He's got a bit of sag, which means he's got to come closer to that block. And you can see here, Joseph Groom just said, no, that's not for me. The pocket's too deep. I'm not going to get a good hold. Cutting a new pocket will just be a waste of time. You know, you have to pick and choose your battles. And in that case, you'd like to see the guy fight through, but you know that it's just going to be a matter of time before he's killing himself up on top of the block there. So yeah, this is, like you said, Yolanda, this is a tough one because it's just like a make or break situation. To get yourself into that hot saw, you have to be able to get through the springboard. Next heat up, Ocean Williams against Terry Hoff. So Terry Hoff has a personal best of 152.02. Ocean Williams, being a new competitor in the pro level, does not have a score yet. So if he can get up there, if he can get two pockets set, if he can get that block off the top and get it out in 2:29 and 35 seconds, then, or hundredths of a second, then he will have a personal best. But that's the thing. He's got to get up there and cut through that top block to have a score. You can see those boards and the metal teeth on the ends of the board. It's actually just one single tooth, and the idea there is once the board is in place and the pressure is on from the outside, that tooth bites into the wood and provides some stability. Now the springboard name comes from the fact that when the board is in place, it does actually create a trampoline-like effect for the athlete. So when he's up there, if he uses that board correctly, can push off that back leg from a far distance out and actually provide himself with a little bit more power in his axe swing. But that's the thing, you got to have that board at exactly the right position.
Springboard on the stage. Last week you look at it, Joaquin Williams, who says this is his least favourite discipline. Terry Hoff, this is his favourite.
All right.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So for Terry Hoff, I'm thinking that was about a 6-hit pocket. Ocean Williams, I looked at his pocket after 4 hits. It looked almost ideal. I think he second-guessed himself a little bit too much on it, but he's got up there and he's got himself a nice board. So this is about getting that second pocket set as quickly and cleanly as possible. Terry Hoff working on setting his second pocket. He's got to get a flat section there, a bit of an angle. Cleaning out the slough, and he'll set his second board. Let's see how that one looks. All right, looks good from the first test. The weight test is coming up. Yeah, looks very good for Terry Hoff as he's up there and tenderly puts his back foot as far back on the board as he can. Now he's got a bit of an angle there, which is very good. He's passing the 1-minute mark now, and Terry Hoff is working on that top block. Ocean Williams is setting his second board. Let's see how that looks for him. And there we go. He's got a good board. It looks solid. And now he's got to trust himself to get that back foot back out on the far end of the board and put some of that power we know he has with the axe into that top block. Sneaking up on 1:30 here. There is a possibility for both of these guys to get through inside the 2 minutes 30. Terry Hoff definitely because he's already working on the backside of his block. Ocean Williams cutting now finally on the front side. Some big slabs coming out as he gets stuck there. Excuse me, I misspoke. Terry Hoff is not working on the backside. He's going deep on the front side first. And now he'll shift his position, and this is where it gets a little bit weird. The angle is quite strange, hitting on the backside there, and Terry Hoff is sneaking up on 2 minutes now, passing it. So he's got 30 seconds to get through that, should be able to do it. Ocean Williams still trying to get through the first side. And Terry Hoff, he's got a thread holding on there, and he's going to have, I don't know, he might have a flag on that play. Once they look at it, it almost looked like he twist cut. So 10 seconds more for Ocean Williams to get through there. I love the fight on this guy, little axe skip right there, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it from the backside in enough time, and that's going to be a DQ for Ocean Williams. Unfortunate. Now we've got, there it is, the yellow flag. I thought that might happen, so they're going to go to video review. I almost guarantee that, because I saw a twist of the axe on the last cut by Terry Hoff. So it could mean that the judges will look at that and see if he didn't cut but broke that top block off. So that's an important factor here. You need to cut through. So our head judge will head into the competition control center, and they will look at that very closely on the video monitors. Well, so far, Terry Hoff is the only guy to have a score in the books with a time of 2:10.92, but it's at risk at the moment of becoming a DQ because of a twist. So the tension is rising as Terry Hoff hopes against all hope that he will have a fair cut there, but that is up to Competition Control Center. So we will wait with bated breath to see what the result is as the ominous music plays in the background, and we wait for our judging crew to come back out with a final decision. And again, this is such a difficult discipline. It's so finicky, you know, anything can happen. And we just saw Bart Janssen run off stage a moment ago. They're requiring a second opinion in the Competition Control Center. And this is very important because they want to make sure that they have as many eyes on this as possible to really make it as fair as possible. And if there is an actual twist before the final cut is through, that means it would be a DQ. But if they do determine that the cut went through and then the twist came after the cut, then it will be a fair cut. So let's see.
Okay, so sadly we had a disqualification out of time, and we made a video check for the final hit on stand 4, and it's a disqualification for wrenching the top of the block off at the final hit. Sorry.
All right, so Terry Hoff is absolutely incensed with that decision by the judges. But, you know, I made the call there as well as I saw that block come off of the top, and maybe we could see a review of that in the slow-mo. The wrenching action or twisting action of the axe actually was the reason why the block came off the top, as we see Ocean Williams there setting his first pocket. Now watch this. We didn't get to see it, unfortunately, but that after 4 hits, it seemed to me like Ocean's pocket was actually very good. Excuse me. Now Ocean gets up on a good board there, and Terry Hoff is already working on his second pocket. What I'm more curious to see is that final hit on the top by Terry Hoff. And you can see the difference there just coming past the minute mark, and Ocean Williams still working to get that pocket in. Once he did get his board in place, he had a very good board though. So you have to give him props for that board, absolutely. Terry Hoff going deep on the first side And it's when he switched his foot position and went to the backside when it got interesting for Terry Hoff. And you can see now Ocean using that power and pushing off of that back foot to get through there. Here it is. Now let's take a look at this closely here. This is the backside of the block for Terry Hoff as we go back to a quick view of Ocean Williams. And right, he's getting deep into this backside. It should be any hit now. There's the wrenching action right there. So it wasn't a clean cut through, and that was the wrenching action, and that caused the DQ, and that unfortunately is the situation as it stands.
Well, thanks, Troy. The Springboard obviously really is the big test that we were expecting it to be. And Alex, 4 DQs. That's not what we were hoping for.
No, it's not, unfortunately, Floaty, but I'm joined by one of the athletes who unfortunately was disqualified in that event, but he's still got a smile on his face here, my good man, Joe Groom. Joe, talk us through what happened there in the Springboard for you.
I think I just got a bit overexcited. You know, it's first year in the Pros Championship. Been training in the timber sports for about 5 years, but it's only been this season I've started on the Springboard. Rushed the pocket, couldn't correct it. I didn't want to carry on to make the tree unsafe, so I thought best to just jump down. But I tried my best, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to talk about that to begin with, and that's the bad stuff out of the way. But there's plenty of good stuff to talk about for you today. It's your first Pro Championships. How have you found the whole experience so far?
Oh, it's incredibly enjoyable. You know, the bunch of guys here are really great. They're always willing to help. Had a bit of a slow start to the day with the underhand and the stock saw, but the single buck and standing block were pretty decent. So I'm glad I just managed to get through the first round, really. That's what I was aiming for in my first season. So it's hard, but it's enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah, like I know, wood, timber, trees are your life. You're even a lecturer now, Joe.
Yeah, I've been lecturing for a couple of years. I teach sort of tree surgery, but obviously it's completely different to what we do here, because we teach everything to maximise safety, and then you come here and you're wielding axes around. Obviously safety, but it's completely different, but the students seem to like it, so yeah, inspires them maybe.
Now, I know we've known each other for a few years and I've seen you come through the ranks, but what's the pathway, what's the adventure in timber sports been like for you, Joe?
It's been great. I mean, I started probably 5 or 6 years ago, just at a newcomers tryout. Went and tried out, and I was 25 at the time, so I managed to compete in the rookies for my first year, which was my last year of the rookies. Spent a couple of years in the intermediate stage where there wasn't a lot of competition for us, and then it's only really been within the last sort of year or so I've been pushing up to get all 6 disciplines to a safe enough level to come into the pros. So it's taken a while, but I'll be back next year, raring to go, be training hard over winter, so watch out.
Good man, Joe. Hot Saw is the last event for all our athletes now this afternoon. Any hopes and aspirations as we enter the final throws of competition?
For who I want to win, or for myself? Well, I doubtful I'll get through to it, obviously. The Hot Saw are one of the ones I actually really quite enjoy, annoyingly, but you know, I've done my best here today. I think the people that will be going through deserve the win, all of them. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to see what happens next.
Joe, love your positivity. Keep that smile beaming. We are moving on to the Hot Saw. It's about to get loud and fast here in Telford.
Good man, great character. Yolanda, one thing I've been dying to ask you, what are you doing next weekend?
I'm competing in Switzerland. So excited.
Oh yeah, so let's take a look at the schedule for next week again. Make sure not to miss out on that. The Swiss Championship, and of course we'll be streaming that live, and the day after another great one coming up.
That's right, that's the World Trophy European Qualifier.
So that's one to look forward to as well. So the whole weekend full of STIHL Timbersports.
That's right.
Really looking forward to that. Getting excited, of course, for the heats 3 and 4 that we're still missing in the Springboard. And that means we're going to find out who's going to make it to the Hot Saw, because as we said at the beginning, we've got 8 athletes competing at this very moment in the second round, but only 6 will make it to the hot saw, and that's what Joe was talking about, knowing more or less that he's not going to end up with the hot saw, even though that he would have really enjoyed to do that.
Yeah.
Is looking at this stage, you know, if you really want to go on to the third round, what do you think is going to make the big difference? Not getting DQ'd, not being within that time limit, you know, where can process be made?
That is the big thing right now. Try and just keep it calm, make a safe cut, get that time without a DQ to continue on. That is the big...
Because that is what Joseph said. He was kind of overexcited, really going for it, and then you end up killing that first pocket, and then it's going to be very, very hard.
That's when the nerves get the best of you.
That's when the nerves get the best of you. By the way, make sure to send us some pictures, to send us some information, to join us on social media. You can see it, hashtag STIHL TIMBERSPORTS, hashtag Kiss My Axe. You've been posting pictures lately, Yolanda?
I haven't, because we haven't had that many competitions.
Yeah, but practice pictures and, I don't know, private pictures, you know, the fan community wants to see that.
I'm only new with this whole social media, so I could work on it.
Oh, yeah. Is that a promise?
It is a promise.
Oh, great. Well, we've got 2 more heats coming up. Glen Pendlington against Tom Redmond, and Elgin Pugh against Johnny Lewis. That's what's coming up. The brackets will show you in a moment, I hope. Here we go. And that is what has been happening so far. Of course, Elgin Pugh, after the 4 DQs, still up on top. And he is in the lead with 47 points at this very moment, in front of Glen Pendlington with 41, as we proceed into the final 2 heats in just a few moments. So let's see the overall score. Elgin Pugh 47, Glen Pendlington 41, and Johnny Lewis with 39 at this very moment as we go through all the competitions here in this bracket. And that means we are ready to go. We are ready to rock and roll. We are ready to give and hand over to Troy Mannering. Here comes heat number 3 of the Springboard.
All right, Glen Pendlington up against Tom Redmond. We saw Glen Pendlington have a really good second half of the competition so far. Personal best on the Springboard, 103.83. Tom Redmond has next to no experience on the Springboard, and he even says himself that the Springboard, as this is a chopping discipline, he has the least experience in, so it's going to be another situation where that experience plays such a key role, and Glen Pendlington definitely has the higher experience level here.
Ready.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Tom Redmond went right at that as though he was going to cut the whole tree down, but it looks like he's got himself a nice pocket. Oh, excuse me, that's Glen Pendlington with the first pocket set, and Tom Redmond's right there with him and starting to set up his second pocket. Looks like he's got a good board too, based on how high he's standing on that tree. Pendlington setting his second board nicely, very quick. Let's see how it stands. Good angle for the light man as he struggles to get his axe out of position, but Tom Redmond right there with him. Wow, what a fantastic second board for Redmond, and this has become a battle between these two guys. A lot of experience against a brand new competitor in the pro circuit here, and Tom Redmond has been such a breath of fresh air here today, and this is a discipline that he was scared of coming into the competition, but obviously it's not scaring him that badly. He's got a great second board, and he's battling a young man, or well, not young man, but a man in Glen Pendlington who has a lot more experience in this discipline, and he's keeping up with him quite well. Pendlington passing the 109 mark now, and he'll switch to the backside shortly. There we go. So Redmond just needs to get himself a good score and he'll have a personal best no matter what. And he's already switched to the backside. He's decided to go through with not a very deep front pocket, but he's dealing with power. And it's Glen Pendlington in 1:30.45, and Redmond still battling as he's going to go back to the front side. He's cut through on both sides now, so however he gets this block down will count. And there we go, 1:44.46, he's got himself a personal best. Wow, what a great job. 2 boards in good time, and it was really just about that top block. He struggled on the backside a bit because I don't think he went through deep enough on the front side, but nevertheless, we have some scores in the books. So a 1:30.21 for Glen Pendlington after adjustment, and Tom Redmond with a 1:44.18 and a personal best, and that is a great way to get his professional career started.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
Whew, no DQs. That's a good sign.
Glen and Tom occupy the top 2 positions in this discipline.
So by virtue of 4 disqualifications in this discipline so far, Glen Pendlington and Tom Redmond are sitting on top of the leaderboard in Springboard so far, and that leaves Elgin Pugh and Johnny Lewis in heat number 4 to come next. Now the stands are ready for them. It's just a bit of a cleanup on stage to make sure that everything is safe for the next 2 competitors to come out. But that being said, I mean, where Tom Redmond currently sits, he is in 2nd place overall. So he should only shift down 2 spots, assuming Elgin Pugh and Johnny Lewis have very good times. And that means we will see Tom Redmond in the hot saw. Now taking a look at these pockets here that were set, Glen Pendlington, really nice first pocket, but not that far behind was Tom Redmond, who did a great job. And boy, did he ever have an angle on that springboard. He was up way high as he tried to set his 2nd board. Nice little quick sweep with the axe there for Pendlington to get his 2nd board in place. Now watch how he struggles to get that axe out. You know, he could have saved himself some time by not hammering it in on the top, and there's Tom Redmond getting up on top and starting to work on that top block as well. Penlington moving over to the other side. You can see how deep he is on the first side, and this is the difference between his top block and Tom Redmond's top block. Redmond didn't go through as deep on the first side, and so that meant that he had to cut hard or more from the backside and just cost himself a little bit more time. So nevertheless, he's got himself a time, and that's a great job by Tom Redmond. And we go to our next heat between Elgin Pugh and John Lewis. Now for Elgin Pugh, he can get those boards set pretty quickly. This is a discipline that it's his favorite discipline, in fact, and he's very, very good in this discipline. His personal best is 1:07.17. Johnny Lewis, on the other hand, not such a fan of this discipline, but still can manage it pretty well. He is a big man, though, and if he can get up top quickly, cutting that top block should be no problem for him at all. His personal best, 2:03.09.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, Elgin Pugh already setting his 2nd pocket here. He was quick. I think he had a 4-hit pocket. I didn't have a camera shot, but based on the sound, it sounded like 4 or 5 hits, maybe 6 max. And Elgin setting his 2nd board now as he gets up around the 30-second mark to start working on that top block. And this is the skill that he has, being such a good competitor in this particular discipline. And Johnny Lewis trying to set that first pocket. Still, no, he's on his 2nd pocket. Excuse me, I lied. Elgin, just a focus of a 5-time champion working on getting his 6th championship title. And Johnny Lewis gets up there at the 1-minute mark or just before. So this is a good sign for him. His board seems solid. He's got good angle on there. Surprisingly, well, no, that's Elgin Pugh has stepped forward on his block now, or on his board, in order to cut that top block from the backside. And he's got it in 109.48. So Johnny Lewis now doing his best to apply some power there. He's not feeling really confident with that back leg, so you can see he's using a lot of his upper body strength in order to make those cuts through. 1:30 here. So can he get himself a personal best? He's got to go deep on this first side before switching. Elgin Pugh already down after a time of 109.48. Remember, 203.09 is the personal best for Johnny Lewis. And he is going to start working on the backside now, and he might be able to do it if he can be powerful on this backside, but that is an awkward angle, and I don't think it's going to happen for him. But he should be in under the 2:30 mark, which means we should have a score for Johnny Lewis. Getting lots of support from the audience in the background, which is great to hear finally after being away from the sport for so long now. He's got to get it done in 15 seconds. Otherwise, he might be in trouble. He's cut from both sides, so he's opting to go back to the front side here. And will it be enough to get through, or will we have another DQ for time elapsed? Oh, he needs a big... No, it's not going to happen for Johnny Lewis. That is unfortunate. We've got another DQ, so we only have 3 scores that actually count. And you can see there, he is just spent. That takes so much physical and mental energy to compete in this discipline. It is insane. He could probably lie down on that springboard and have a nap before he comes down. So at the moment, we only have 3 scores to count, with one of them being a personal best for Tom Redmond.
Unfortunately out of time, so disqualification. However, the count is good.
So that means the springboard is done and dusted, and the only thing left for us to deal with is the stage setup for the hot saw and the gas head discipline. You can see here, between these two guys, Johnny Lewis and Elgin Pugh. Elgin Pugh, that was, I'm going to say that was a 4-hit pocket. I didn't really get a good clean count on there, but he was quick to get up onto that first board. And Johnny Lewis also had a really good first board once he got up there. It took him a little longer to set that pocket. Elgin Pugh's second pocket was also good. He's just so adept at getting the angle of the board perfect. And once he's up there, you can see that back foot is well towards the back of the board, and that gives him an opportunity to push off of that back hip. Now here, you can see Johnny Lewis, he stepped forward on the board, feeling a little not so confident on the back end of that board, which means he's using more of his upper body strength and not using that core and lower body to really add power to those hits. And the board started to sag a little bit, and that just caused problems for him. And you can see, yeah, one final push with his hand, and he was close. He was very close, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. So Elgin Pugh at the top of the springboard rankings, with Glen Pendlington, as expected, in second place. And Tom Redmond, who was a bit of a surprise here, in third place with the only other score for springboard. The rest of the guys had timeout DQs, and with the exception of Terry Hoff, who had a wrenching DQ. And if we take a look at the overall standings, that means that we're going to have some more shifts here. Remembering that only the top 6 guys will go on to the hot saw. And take a look at this. Elgin Pugh, Glen Pendlington, Tom Redmond, Johnny Lewis, Terry Hoff, and Joseph Groom moving on to the hot saw. The surprise here, Tom Redmond, absolutely fantastic job by him today. Big props out to him for doing such a good job to make it to the make or break discipline.
Absolutely, Troy. And that's our top 6. Yolanda, Elgin Pugh, a class of his own?
Definitely.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure Alex is going to ask Elgin 1 or 2 questions about the springboard, but great job, absolutely fantastic. Over to you guys.
Well, really, you know, I would have liked to have gone to but with how busy it's been. I'm asking you about that, Elgin.
Well, we can see him already. Hopefully they can hear us. Alex, Elgin, it's over to you guys. You can rock the stage. We're live with you guys, Alex and Elgin.
I can't hear anybody.
So thanks everyone. Yeah, I'm joined now by Elgin Pugh, who's just finished the springboard. Elgin, that looked fairly effortless as you made your way up the block. I know, and I'm sure this will disappoint you, but you were 1 stroke away as well from your personal best. You are a man of high standards, I know.
Yeah, you know, there was definitely quite a few mistakes, really. The first one was on the top pocket, which I just, you know, probably trying to rush, missed the 3rd hit on the top, opened too wide, and then that probably wasted two, maybe 3 seconds there. And when I was on the block on top, I should have cut more of the foul wood. Took too much time on the second side to drive off, but you know, it's the first competitive springboard I've done since 2019, so.
Yeah, of course you are our top athlete, but training and the chance to get out with the axe and the saw has been punctuated by real life this past year.
Yeah, you know, with work commitments and not being able to get out to some of the shows that I've recently been on, you know, it's quite tough. You know, this is literally my first competition really since Prague 2019. You know, so it is a bit of a shock to the system, should I say.
Now, you always make it look really easy. Your level of chill is extremely high. You've come off there barely breaking a sweat.
Well, you know, I think somebody's turned the heating up. It's feeling pretty warm here now.
Now, you're top of the rankings. 1 event to go. You are our current British champ, 5 times champ, no less. How do you prepare yourself, Elgin, for the final event and just maintaining that focus? What gets inside the mind of an athlete here?
Well, I think this final event, there's so many variables. Things can go wrong, so keeping a cool head and just focus. You know, don't do anything crazy, but also you need a good time.
Elgin, we'll let you go and mentally prepare and physically prepare. Thanks very much for talking to us. All the best for the rest of the competition. It's back to you guys in the studio as we approach the final event.
Well, thanks very much. Elgin, finding a lot of details he was not too happy with. Yolanda, is that how champions think?
Yeah, they always are picking apart their performance, their event, and trying to figure out how to do it better the next time.
Are you the kind of guy that's very hard to herself as well?
Well, luckily we only have 4 disciplines, so I don't have that many to pick through. But yeah, I'm pretty
I should have done
strict on myself. Yeah.
Well, I've done my maths as we're going into the final discipline, and Elgin is up by 8 points. That would mean if Glen wins the hot saw and Elgin comes in 4th, Glen would win by 1 point. So everything and anything is still possible, and that's why we call the hot saw the maker or the breaker.
This is the one and only discipline where the athletes are alone on stage.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the slider.
Timber.
Hot saw. Hot saw.
Like I can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid, cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy, relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
Hot saw is a love-hate for me. I honestly don't get that much enjoyment out of it. I'm not a motorhead. I swallow my pills and eat it.
Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw there's 3 good discs there, but then let that nose come right up underneath, cross over the line.
Fortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
Oh no!
Irgendwie soll es einfach nicht sein. Und dann springt die Hot saw an, wieder mal.
Oh man, that is a bummer for Robert Ebner.
What are you taking away from this event?
Oh, probably last place. I don't know, headache. Yeah, shit hot saw. What else do you want?
If you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's part, just your experience.
Oh my goodness, what an absolute disaster. The chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
A bit of a disaster, so it was just operator error, and I didn't perform as well as I would have liked to.
Nice safe cut. Oh no! Oh no!
You're never prepared for that situation, but luckily I started and I got 3 wheels and now I'm the world champion.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love it and you hate it.
Das ist eigentlich immer ein geiles Ding. Ich schneide immer sehr sicher.
Weltrekord wollte ich schneiden, das war immer mein Ziel schon seit Jahren. Und das jetzt hier bei der DM zu machen, natürlich so grandios, kann man eigentlich gar nicht besser schreiben, das Buch, und bin natürlich super glücklich.
Try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all one, so that's the best event.
So much drama, so many emotions. Yolanda, what's your favorite parts of the hot saw?
When it starts.
How is it?
And the guys are there, and they're in the wood, and the whole cut, it works out. It's just, it's so sad when something doesn't work out.
When the saw starts, I really like that. We might be able to get a short glimpse of the warming up of the saws. I think most of the athletes are already on stage or backstage. So that should make you feel happy. It looks like they're working.
Yeah, but it's always a good sign in the warm-up if it's working, but then once you're on that stage, you got that 60 seconds to warm that saw up. You just cross your fingers and hope she works.
And those motors, those machines, I mean, this is like what you use in a skido, for instance.
That's right. They're big, powerful machines.
Is that a discipline you think that would work for you if you gave it a hot shot?
I have tried it once. It was very cool, but the machine is fairly heavy, so they're around 27 kgs. They are trying to make lighter ones so that for us women or rookies even, that they can get a start into this discipline.
A lot of it is custom made. A lot of it is like putting your focus in. Everybody has their own favorite tools that they like to work the hot saw with. And of course, Robert Ebner, for instance, with the world record now, he's been having a hard time with the hot saw, and suddenly, bam, you know, he's there right on point. So I think that's got to be really nice. I'd love to see you work on one of those hot saws. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, so soon, Jordan Muscat, he will be coming up to the pros, so he'll have his first chance at the hot saw.
Okay, so that's the rookie who won the hot saw today. Maybe we can...
Rookie Championships today.
Yep, so maybe we can get a picture of that, I hope. It's coming up, I just heard. There he is.
So he was the champion in 2019. Second place, sorry, in 2019. So he is 24 years old, so 95 kg, so he's a big boy.
And he has returned in style in 2021, winning the rookie competition. That's impressive.
That's right. He had a good go. He won most of the disciplines. So he also is out in the nature mountain biking, not just chopping wood.
Okay, why not? So it's, I think we've talked about the hot saw quite a bit, but there's still some specifications that you need to know about, and that they are coming up right now.
These custom, handmade, race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision, and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition. They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder two-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike. The hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms, and its chain rotates at over 250 kilometers an hour. The cost of a competition hot saw used in STIHL Timbersports is upward of 6,000 euros. Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action, and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification.
It's all down to the hot saw, and here's the starting order for the final 3 heats. Heat 1, Joseph Groom and Terry Hoff. Heat 2, Johnny Lewis and Tom Redmond. And in Heat 3, Glen, Pendlington and Elgin Pugh. Troy Mannering, we are ready to rock and roll. Hopefully you are too.
Oh yeah, I was born ready for this particular discipline. You know, I don't want to call myself a gas head, but you can't not like the noise and the fumes and the smell from these things. Okay, so it's pretty awesome.
Warm up your saw.
All right, so they'll have a chance to warm up these saws. This is a risky moment for these guys. You want to make sure these saws are running and running clean, but not overheating before it's time to start them for the actual competition. So they'll take a couple of revs to blow out the carbon, make sure everything is warmed up enough so they get a clean start at competition time. And this is the difference between the hot saw and the stock saw. It is a pull start to start the saw before competition, and they have to cut 3 discs off that huge block inside of 15 centimeters, as you heard from the description earlier. So this is where it gets a bit finicky for these guys, because anything can happen with these high-performance saws, you know? Most of the guys will know their saws inside and out. They'll have a routine, as you see what's happening here. Lots of buttons and levers and making sure everything's in exactly the right position. And these guys will all be well-practiced in their routine. Here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so Terry Hoff with a 12.67 and Joseph Groom with a 12.92. And believe it or not, Joseph Groom probably could have cut about a second off of that time had he not fiddled around at the top of his cut with trying to position that saw. All right, so we do have a stand under review, and I believe that's going to be on Joseph Groom's side.
Okay, unfortunately we have a disqualification for an incomplete cookie. However, this cut is good.
Okay, so Joseph Groom gets a DQ for an incomplete cookie, and I think that might have been the first cookie that he had. And yeah, having a quick discussion with Bart Janssen about it. Hey, it was only this much, man. Come on, give me a break. But unfortunately for Joseph Groom, it is a DQ in rounds number 3. Let's take a look back at the slow-mo here, what happened with Joseph Groom's first cuts, if we can get that one. So there's the warm-ups and making sure those saws are, you know, operating. And there's the first cut from Terry Hoff. Now here's where it fumbled around with Joseph. That would have been incomplete. He started again and then had to start one more time. Now, let's not forget that saw is wiggling around like crazy. It's 27 to 35 kilos. There's a ton of machinery moving in there. There's a lot of action, and you've got to navigate that saw inside of this 15-centimeter thing. I mean, that is just insane. And I believe it was his second cookie, actually, that was the problem. You can see the tip of the blade disappears in, then it twists off and rolls away, and that was the cookie that was missing the piece. So, yeah, that's an unfortunate situation for Joseph Broome, getting a DQ in the last discipline, and our next heat comes up onto the deck. And that's going to be Johnny Lewis up against Tom Redmond. Tom Redmond's been a really great surprise to today's event in the competition, as he has just gone from strength to strength here and continues to surprise everybody. All right, last minute preparations here for both of these guys as they get ready to try and gain 18 points. 18 points is what you get for the top position in hot saw at the moment. Terry Hoff with 12.57 seconds is the man holding on to those 18 points. But we have this heat coming up between Johnny Lewis and Tom Redmond to determine if that might change. A bit of a saw change here for Tom Redmond by the looks of it, as there was something going on, or maybe not a saw change, but a quick bit of maintenance to make sure that it's exactly working as planned. Now, some of these guys who don't have their own saws will use a saw that's provided for them. It's not optimal, obviously, but they have to get used to it. And yeah, these saws can cost really a lot of money. So Tom Redmond's saw sounds like it's good. Johnny Lewis's saw as well. So they'll rewrap those cords and get ready to go.
"30 seconds.
So final check there for Tom Redmond as he repositions his saw to exactly where he wants it.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh yes, good cuts from Johnny Lewis, an 8.70, and Tom Redmond with 12.25 personal best, and it looks like he's got 3 on the deck. Hopefully no cutouts for him, and that will be a great job by Tom Redmond, who would slip into second place just ahead of Terry Hoff. And that smile says it all right there. But Johnny Lewis with a great time of 8.61.
Okay, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So no matter what happens today, Tom Redmond can be proud of how he performed, and he can walk off that stage, take a deep breath, and think about the beer that he's going to enjoy in the pub later on. We'll take a look back at the preparation for these guys getting the saw started. 2 different styles of saw here too as well. You can see the foot on that saw sets it a lot higher. That means the actual lift to get it going onto the block is going to be a lot shorter, and that's just you know, a little bit of a pause there to set it up. But then once he's got his position, Tom Redmond gets 3 nice clean cookies, and meanwhile Johnny Lewis just ripping through him over there. Must be the yellow in that saw blade. Good job for an 8.61 for Johnny Lewis and a 12.13 for Tom Redmond. Alrighty, now it comes down to the final battle between the 2 top-ranked guys in the overall ranking today, and that's Elgin Pugh and Glen Pendlington. Glen Pendlington currently, after this last heat, is sitting in 4th place, with Elgin Pugh sitting in 2nd. So Elgin, as you heard earlier on, when the math master Marcus said he only has to have a 4th place in order to take the top spot, he's got to think about this, though. In the competitive spirit of things, he wants to have a better time than Johnny Lewis, which is an 8.61. However, Elgin Pugh's best time is a 7.47, so that's possible.
Okay, gentlemen, warm up your saw.
Uh-oh. This is not looking good here for Glen Pendlington. Is it plugged in? Here we go, here we go. That's got it. And he's got to want to make sure that saw is, yeah, good and warm and not overdo it, though. Boy, that came in tight, though. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Here's the 2 different blade types as well. You can see that fat, bulbous middle section of the blade there on Elgin Pugh's saw, and the difference there between the long, thin Forester blade that we have on Glen Pendlington's. My preference would be the fatter blade.
Athletes ready.
Less likely of a chain jump there, but everybody's different.
1, go!
Whoa! 8.46 for Elgin Pugh, 8.86 for Glen Pendlington. That means Elgin Pugh, top spot in the hot saw, and should take over top spot in the overall, meaning he will retain his British Championship title, and that will mark him for his 6th title. Unbelievable. So there you go, 3 times just above the 8-second mark. Glen Pendlington with an 8.73, Johnny Lewis with an 8.61, and Elgin Pugh with an 8.42. Glen Pendlington, by the way, that was a personal best for him. Tom Redmond and Terry Hoff both had personal bests as well. And unfortunately, Joseph Groom had a DQ on his cuts as we take a look back at the final preparations for this last heat between Glen and Elgin. Now, it was a bit of a stress moment there for Glen as he couldn't get his saw started. I was starting to wonder, boy, oh boy, that's going to be trouble for him. But then it finally jumped and he got it going. So that must have been a huge relief for him. And you can see there, both of them, a brief pause before they started their cutting, but the flow was just a little bit better by Elgin. Nice entry though, and good clean cookies for both of these guys. Nice job. All right, so we can take a look at the results of the hot saw. Elgin Pugh, Johnny Lewis, and Glen Pendlington 1, 2, and 3. Tom Redmond, fantastic job today. In number 4, 5th is Terry Hoff, and number 6, Joseph Groom with a DQ, unfortunately, for an incomplete cookie. And if we take a look at the overall standings, yeah, it's pretty clear how that's going to turn out, because Elgin Pugh being on top with 81 points. Take a look at this. So there you go. That's your overall standings. Elgin Pugh, Glen Pendlington will have the silver medal. Tom Redmond, hey, look at that. A bronze medal for that guy sitting in third place. What a great day for him. Absolutely fantastic turnout for his first pro competition. Then we got Johnny Lewis, Terry Hoff, and Joseph Groom rounding out the remaining athletes in the final top 6.
What an impressive performance by Elgin Pugh. The old champion is the new champion. Yolanda, is that what we expected?
We did expect it a little bit, but there's always that other person that could come up from behind, and that was Glen. He was the favorite today to maybe take that championship away from Elgin, but Elgin came through.
And what about Tom Redmond in his debut? I mean, how good was that? Brilliant.
He was on fire. That's all I can say. It is amazing to see someone new on scene and getting up there right to the podium.
It could have been any better. Elgin Pugh getting first. Silver goes to Glen Pendlington and Tom Redmond with bronze. Great competition, great fun. And of course, next weekend, we hope to see some more STIHL Timbersports. And for everyone who wants to watch this again, want to go to Amazon Prime. So many things happening at the moment. We're just waiting for the winners ceremony. But Yolanda, just looking back at the whole competition as it proceeded from round 1 to 3, when did you feel that this was going to be Elgin's day? Because, I mean, the first discipline didn't work the way he was expecting it to work. And when did you think, okay, he's going to do it?
I think it really was to the point of the springboard, because they're so unfortunate that there's so many DQs. That would have messed up or changed up the standings a little bit if they could have had a time to count.
Absolutely, and he was so impressive in those 2 last competitions, and really showed he is an absolute true champion. Yeah, all we can do is congratulate him and say absolutely impressive. We're going to go to Telford now, because we're going to have the winner ceremony coming up in just a moment. Take a look at that beautiful place. Full respect to everybody at STIHL Timbersports GB for getting this done, for getting a bit of a crowd, for giving us a bit of that atmosphere that we miss so much, and that hopefully is going to be back again next year. And Yolanda, I think it's time to start the ceremony, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to put your hands together for 11th place, and that's Andrew Evans. In 10, we have Graham Turner. Bill Joaquin made it to position number 9. In 8th position, Ocean Williams. 7th, Matt O'Rourke. 6th today, Joseph Groom. Number 5 at the GB Championship, Terry Hoff. And number 4, Johnny Lewis, as we hand over to Alex Kirky and the top 3 here at the STIHL Timbersports British Championship 2021.
Yes, here we are at the Telford International Centre for the culmination of the STIHL Timbersports British Pro Championships 2021. Our top 3, ladies and gentlemen. Incidentally, the medals will be presented by head of three this afternoon. In 3rd place with a massive 57 points. Please give it up for Tom Redmond. Great work from Tom in his first Pro GB Championships with us. Big future ahead. Our runner-up this afternoon with 67 points. Please give it up for Glen Pendlington. And the undisputed king of STIHL Timbersports in Great Britain, 6th in a row. Give it up for Elgin Pugh. once again, your GB champion, Elgin Pugh.
Yolanda, are you ready for the champagne shower?
Oh yeah, definitely. Wishing I was there.
Well, who wouldn't? That was a really great competition.
This afternoon at the Telford International Centre. Big round of applause also for our technical officials and judges who made this event run so smoothly.
Absolutely.
As well as all our backroom
Great job,
staff.
Telford. Great job.
And here we go. It's time to get wet. Time to get out of the way. Great work, one and all.
Perfect Sunday afternoon. Yolanda, I hope you really enjoyed yourself, at least as much as I did.
I loved it. It was awesome.
And then hopefully Alex is going to talk to the champion. Back to Telford, back to the interview with the reigning champion. Here is, hopefully, Alex with the one and only Mr. Pugh.
Okay, we're going to grab the champ. Come here, champ, please. Going to talk to your adoring public out in the wide, wide world. Come here, man. We can do it on stage. 6 times, Elgin. I can't believe I'm saying this. You mustn't believe it yourself.
Yeah, extremely happy. You know, not competed for so long. You know, it was pretty tough and close at times, but you know, just I think experience paid off. Just kept it steady, didn't do anything silly. So
I talked to you shortly before that last event, the hot sauna. I just saw that steely determination, you're right, to get the job done. You weren't even thinking about coming 4th or 5th and seeing it through gently. You wanted to win.
Yeah, I wanted to win. You know, I wasn't going to try and break any records, but, you know, also went for a decent cut. But, you know, I think it was good enough. That's the important thing.
Jets have a break now? What's next?
Well, no break, unfortunately. Off to Switzerland next weekend to the European Trophy. So, just when I thought a break would be nice, back on the training when I get home. And so, back to it.
What are you going to do with all your medals and your trophies? You building a cabinet?
Nah, I just look at them. Every time I need to go training, I have a look at them. Yeah. Give me some motivation.
I like that. Elgin, thanks very much. Congratulations once again. You are our 6 times champ. Fantastic work. I take my hat off to you. Everybody here at the Telford International Centre does. You're a true champ.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elgin Pugh, today's champion 2021. Even with a year out, the man just keeps delivering on and on. Thanks very much, Elgin. Thanks very much, everyone back in the studio in Munich, for being with us here today in Telford. We've had a fantastic time.
You guys were brilliant in Telford. Thanks so much. 6 times, Yolanda.
Yeah.
That is
Unreal.
more than impressive. Absolutely. Congratulations. A great job by everyone. And of course, for us, it's time to say goodbye, but only with the pictures of the day. And there's quite a number of them.
Yes, you are right.
So enjoy. Pictures of the days coming up. And Yolanda and me are out. Bye-bye. Hopefully see you
Bye-bye, everyone.
soon.